My dad made me choose one of the 10 goddesses to marry. This video is purely for entertainment and does not violate copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and the image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 51. The most handsome boy on the street. Song Kemming's side was none other than Dukingu. Immediately afterwards, a Rolls-Royce parked in a distant parking space and 2 people got out of the back seat. They are Song Zhentao and Song Fan respectively. Everyone around saw this inside. People from the Song family have arrived. This was the first time that Song Zhentao saw Fen Lin with his own eyes. But what is his identity? He simply glanced at Fen Lin casually and then entered the mansion with Song Fan. The matter of partying is left to Song Kemming. After all, Song Fan was taking a high-level route, so he couldn't act like a playboy and yell at Fen Lin. Where is the security? Song Kemming shouted at the surroundings again. In fact, everyone present wanted to laugh when they saw Song Kemming, although what happened a few days ago was suppressed. But his preferences spread throughout Zhang City. Soon after, several tall men in black uniforms arrived from a distance. Although Song Kemming is like a clown, no one is stupid enough to provoke him because he is rich. Sir, this road near the mansion is private land. Do you have an invitation letter? One of the security guards asked with a smile. They have received professional training and will not show impolite expressions on such occasions. Shit. So this road is private property. Fen Lin lowered his head and stepped on the asphalt road under his feet. You want to know now? This was originally the Gu family's mansion, and they only used it to build roads. Song Kemming pointed at Fen Lin and said, "Get out of here right now. This is not a place where people like you can enter." Who? You mean? Fen Lin is our Zhu family. We have an invitation letter. Why can't we let him in? Zhu Wang angrily scolded Song Kemming. When Wang King heard this from a distance, he felt that he was the target of public criticism. He couldn't afford to lose this person, so he immediately brought Zhu Chuan to the mansion. The people around him also looked here and started talking about it. Zhu Wang of the Zhu family is so amazing. He dared to scold Song Kemming. Yes. But the consequences will be tragic. The Zhu family's assets are only more than 1 billion. The family's stock market Song has lost more than 2 billion. In recent days, but it is still no. 3 inches Zhang City. Zhu Ruang, who do you think? Zhu family. Anyway, now that the relationship with Zhu Ruang has been made clear, Song Kemming has no scruples. Simply capture her alive, take revenge, and then kill her. Security here is also in a dilemma, because according to the rules, people with invitations can bring their relatives. What's this fuss about? This is my friend, I asked her to come. At this time, a cute little girl with 2 tails and a white skirt walked from a distance. It was Fen Lin's student, Gu Duatu. He jumped into the back seat of Fen Lin's electric car and patted Fen Lin on the shoulder. Go home. When the people watching saw this, their eyes widened. This man who rides an electric bicycle really knows the little princess of the Gu family. No wonder you dare to come in like this. The security guards immediately dispersed and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they did nothing at this time. Otherwise the job will disappear. Zhu Ruang was also surprised. When did Fen Lin and Gu Duatu get together? She didn't know that Gu Duatu was Fen Lin's student. Fen Lin smiled at Zhu Ruang. I'll go in first. After saying that, he turned the handle and ran into the mansion with Gu Duatu, leaving everyone stunned. Everyone gave way to Fen Lin and he became the most handsome boy on the street. Entering the mansion, Zhu Chuan and Wang Qin, who were chatting with others in the distance, also saw Fen Lin. Because riding an electric bike attracts too much attention on such occasions. Wang Qin rubbed his eyes and thought he had seen it wrong. Why did Fen Lin take Gu Duatu with him? That's the little princess of the Gu family. They walked to the depths of the mansion. In the corner of a large house, Gu Duatu patted Fen Lin and said, "Stop." Fen Lin slammed on the brakes and stopped here. Gu Duatu jumped out of the car and asked strangely, "Why did you come to my house?" "I came to do something today," Fen Lin explained with a smile. Gu Duatu shook his head slightly, his twin pigtail spinning like a double-bladed electric fan. "Forget it. You came just in time, we won first place, you know right? You're talking about the show, right?" "Yes, I know." Fen Lin didn't know, but at this moment, he could only nod. "I will transfer 2,000 yuan to you. When the counselor's salary goes down, give the 2,000 yuan to Tang Qian and you will not lose money." Gu Duatu took out his mobile phone from his pocket. "No need, Qian is my sister, I am not short of the 2,000 yuan. Fen Lin thought he was going to say something to her, so he turned the electric car around. "Anyway, thank you for letting me in." After that, Fen Lin. I rode my electric bike back to the front yard. The security guards around him did not dare to intercept him. This man was a friend of the lady. Fen Lin placed the electric car near the side of the mansion. He turned and looked at the grass here. It has basically been decorated, all with white tables and chairs, and many guests have already taken their seats. They chatted and looked at the approaching middle-aged man. This middle-aged man has mature curly hair and gold-rimmed glasses, giving him an elegant temperament. Next to him is Lan Rao. Mr. Lan Jun, long time no see. Say hello to Mr. Lan for me. Everyone who had been sitting stood up and gathered around Lan Jun. Among them is Zhu Chuan. The power is a lot greater than money. Having money does not necessarily mean you have power, but you should not lack money if you have power. Lan Jun has no rights, but Lanny is different. That is the real big problem. And just nodded at these people without saying much. Lan Rao raised her eyebrows in surprise. She didn't expect to see Fen Lin here. As soon as she was about to approach, Lan Jun took her hand and walked towards the main seat. In the distance, a bald old man on crutches walked over with a smile on his face and had many age spots on his face. Song Zhentel and Song Fan, who were sitting, stood up together. Mr. Gu. Gay, but everyone who was chatting in the distance also stood up and congratulated Gu King. Gu King made a special statement on his birthday many years ago that he did not need to bring any gifts for his birthday. People like him don't lack much, he just wants the businessmen in Zhang City to get together to talk about the recent business outlook. In addition to this, it is also an opportunity for businessmen in Zhang City to meet each other. Ha ha ha. Sit down. Gu King smiled at everyone around him. He himself was holding a cane and sitting on the main seat. According to the rules, this table is occupied by people from the 4 major families. I wish you, sir, good luck like the East China Sea and longevity as long as the southern mountains. Song Fan bowed his hands respectfully towards Gu King. Yeah, yes. I watched Zhu Feng grow up, and his future achievements will definitely not be inferior to your father. Gu King nodded with a smile, and then looked at Lan Jun next to him. Why isn't your father coming? I have something to do up there, so I won't be home these days, Lan Jun explained with a smile. Fen Lin also took a seat, but he is not at the Zhu family table. Not long after, laughter was heard in the distance. Ha ha ha. Mr. Gu, you're late. This person is Zhu Yan. Zhu Yan only had one bodyguard with him and Zhu Ziyang did not come. Husband, Xiaoyang. When Wei King saw this, he hurriedly urged her. After finally getting involved with the Zhu family, she naturally wanted to get closer. The two nodded, got up and approached Zhu Yan. Chapter 52. Tie her too. Not only them, but other people also gathered around them. Zhu Yan is a bit shocked. Many people said privately that they were waiting for Lenny and Gu King, the 2 elders, to die. In Zhang City, Zhu Yan basically has the final say. Both assets and shares are virtual and only the force itself is real. Mr. Zhu, I am Zhu Chuan and I would like to thank you for your support of our family. Zhu Chuan greeted him with a smile. Zhu Wang also deliberately approached her and asked with a smile, Mr. Zhu, why isn't Jingying here? Haha. That guy is still sleeping and I'm too lazy to call her. Zhu Yan saw Fen Lin at a glance. The two simply looked at each other and had no further communication. This was what Fen Lin had discussed with him before. If he was too enthusiastic about it today, the plan would not go forward. Your boy is finally here. I thought you didn't dare to give me face. Gu King pointed at Zhu Yan and cursed with a smile. How dare I? If it weren't for Mr. Gu's guidance, I would be the head of a security company now. Zhu Yan smiled and sat in the seat closest to Gu King. Zhu Chuan and Zhu Ruang were a little disappointed. It seems that we can only wait until this banquet is over. At that moment, another man and a woman came out. When Fen Lin saw this, the corners of his mouth raised slightly and finally arrived. Yi Xin. She was wearing a black dress and her eyes were so deep that they seemed to make people sink into them. The skirt outlines the elegant figure and the whole body exudes mature charm. His appearance made everyone here incredible. I didn't expect Yi. This woman is not an ordinary person. Compared to them, people from the 4 major families know better who Yi Xin is. But since they're here, Gu King, as the host, naturally wants to welcome them. Before getting up, he found Yi Xin sitting down on his own initiative. He was sitting next to Fen Lin. Wang Jian took a few steps back and stood still. The people sitting at Fen Lin's table were a little fluttered. You should know that although Yi Xin is 30 years old, she is not married yet. This kind of mature and charming woman is not something that ordinary girls can compare themselves with. Hello, Miss Yi, I am the CEO of Shingo Group, a middle-aged man with a crew cut, in his 50s, said with a smile. But Yi, after hearing this, everyone else at the table fell silent. It turns out that today we are here to cause trouble. Did you admit the wrong person? Fen Lin asked suspiciously. Is it him? Yi Shen turned around and asked. Wang Jian, who was behind, took a few steps forward and nodded slightly. That's him. Yi Shen picked up the glass of red wine next to him, stood up, and splashed it hard on Fen Lin's face. The originally loud sound suddenly became silent. All the people sitting in the main seat looked here, only Zhu Yuan showed a faint smile. As for Song Kam-in, who was not far away, he almost laughed out loud upon seeing this situation. This kid, Fen Lin, was looking for death and even provoked Yi Shen. That bitch is notoriously cruel. Unless Zhu Yuan can arrange a 24-hour all-weather bodyguard for Fen Lin. Otherwise, sooner or later something will happen to him. What are you doing? Zhu Yuan continued to pay attention and found that Fen Lin did nothing, so he threw wine and stood up angrily. He hadn't had time to bully Fen Lin, how could it be someone else's turn? Sit down. Wang Qing turned pale with fright and immediately grabbed Zhu Yuan's hand. But Zhu Yuan shook off Wang Qing's hand and walked over. Why are you insulting him? Because I want. Yi Shen's deep eyes gradually exuded killing intent. The surrounding atmosphere solidified again. I'm fine. Fen Lin wiped his face with his sleeve. I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. Sorry, let's go first. He took the key out of his pocket and got into his electric vehicle. Bike, and I left here. Guchen King raised his eyebrows strangely. Who was this guy? How did you get home by electric bike? Seeing Fen Lin leave, Yi Shen also got up, turned around and left. Wang Jian followed Yi Shen closely. Haha. The weather has been dry recently, and young people tend to get angry easily. Don't worry about them. Guchen King raised his glass to the people around him. Here. Let me toast everyone first. After Guchen King stirred up the atmosphere, the surroundings returned to their previous state of disorder. Song Zhentou observed Zhu Yuan with his peripheral vision and it seemed like his previous guess was wrong. He didn't know Fen Lin. He protects the Zhu family, perhaps because Zhu Yuan has a good relationship with his daughter. Wang Qing noticed that there were people around and began to speak again. He stood up quietly and took Zhu Yuan's hand. Sit down quickly, we can't afford to offend that person. For your usual beauty care, you would go to Yi Shen's beauty salon. I often hear those people talk about Yi Shen. She is a standard big sister, and those who offend her basically disappear. Mom, I feel a little uncomfortable. I'll go back first. Zhu Yuan often runs around Zhang City, so she naturally knows the rumors about Yi Shen. She was a little worried about Fen Lin and planned to follow him to take a look. Wang Qing sighed deeply, he really didn't know what kind of magical power Fen Lin had. Let your daughter sink so deep. Who was that woman just now? Du Qingyu, who was sitting next to Song Kam-in, asked strangely, feeling something was wrong. Haha. Miss Du, that is no ordinary person. All of your men are risking their lives. Fen Lin, this boy, please wish you well. Song Kam-in kept a smile on his lips. Du Qingyu also laughed. He originally thought the other party was Fen Lin's girlfriend. Only in this way can Fen Lin not fight back be justified. Since there is no relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend, how could Fen Lin swallow his anger? There must be something wrong in the middle. Fen Lin rode an electric bicycle heading west. We stopped in the middle of the road to the outskirts. A few minutes later, a Mercedes-Benz V-Class stopped in front of him. After the car door was opened, Wang Jian jumped out of the car and carried Fen Lin's electric car to the car. Fen Lin and Wang Jian sat together. Yi Shen, the co-pilot, turned with a smile. Sir, my acting skills are good, right? Okay, very good. Fen Lin nodded, that's what he had to do. Now that Fen Lin has disappeared, people who don't know him definitely don't care. But the Song family has always been paying attention to Fen Lin. Once he disappears, the Song family will immediately think that it was Yi Shen who did it. Boss, the man behind seems to be following us. The driver looked in the rearview mirror and saw a car behind him. Fen Lin looked back and rolled her eyes helplessly. It was Zhu Yuan. Isn't this Mr. Fen Lin's girlfriend? Yi Shen asked with a smile. No. Fen Lin hesitated and looked at Wang Jian in the car tiny with her own. Wang Jian looked at Yi Shen. Yi Shen nodded slightly. Listen to Mr. Fen Lin. Wang Jian took out the rope from the side and tied Fen Lin to. Stop the car and tie up that woman, then drive her car and put it in the underground garage of the shopping mall, Fen Lin said to Wang Jian. Zhu Yuan was a bit of a tiger and Fen Lin was afraid that she would ruin his plan. These are the suburbs, there are no cameras, so I can only tie him up. Do it. Yi Shen nodded with a smile. The driver immediately applied the brakes. Zhu Yuan, who was following her, noticed a sudden brake in front of her and stopped as well. He then saw a tall man jumping out of the car, the same man who had been following Yi Shen before. Wang Jian knocked on Zhu Ruang's window several times. Chapter 53 Adding fuel to the flames. Zhu Ruang opened the window and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you following us?" Wang Jian's strength was far beyond what Zhu Ruang could match. He controlled Zhu Ruang's hands with one hand and quickly closed the car. "Let me go." "What are you doing?" Zhu Ruang struggled hard and roared, "I'm calling the police. Let me go." At this time, the driver in the distance also came to help. The two of them tied up Zhu Ruang in just 3 strikes. Opening the rear door of the Mercedes-Benz, Zhu Ruang was thrown towards Fen Lin. Zhu Ruang's eyes widened in shock. "Fen Lin, are you here?" "What a coincidence," Fen Lin said with a smile. Everything went according to Fen Lin's plan. Wang Jian got into Zhu Ruang's car and the driver headed to the back door of Yishen Club. In front of him was a warehouse with more than a dozen people waiting. Yishen got out of the car immediately, and everyone around nodded respectfully. "Boss, take the 2 people in the car to the underground warehouse," Yishen said to everyone. "Yeah." Several people helped Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang respectively and entered through the back door. There is a large warehouse here where all kinds of goods are stored. However, there is a very secret switch in the corner. After pressing it, a hidden grid will appear on the ground. The interior was completely dark and only the stairs could be seen at the edge. Several people shouted at Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang. Accompanied by these people, Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang arrived at the underground warehouse. There are small rooms here. Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang were pushed into a dark room and then the door was closed. "Fen Lin, what should I do?" Zhu Ruang was not afraid that it was a lie, so she touched her body. Today she is wearing a dress and her phone is in her bag, but the bag is in the car. Fen Lin took out his cell phone, put it on airplane mode, and sighed, "There is no signal here, damn. What should I do?" Zhu Ruang hugged Fen Lin's arm. "We won't die here, right?" "Us? I don't know." Fen Lin touched the surrounding walls, then found a switch in the dark room lit up. Zhu Ruang looked around and found that there was a bunk bed on the floor and a separate bathroom next to it. "Don't worry, you'll be safe now that you're here. The Zhu family will definitely come to rescue us." Fen Lin found that a woman like Zhu Ruang was quite cute with her shy expression. "Yes. When Yingqing finds out that I am missing, she will definitely ask Mr. Zhu to save us." Zhu Ruang also nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. The Gu family banquet is over. The people from the Gu family also began to see off the guests. Zhu Yuan looked at the messages on his phone and left first. Zhu Chuan had been waiting for Zhu Yuan for a long time, smiled and greeted. "Mr. Zhu, I don't know if you have time, sorry, I'm in a hurry." Zhu Yuan nodded towards Zhu Chuan without turning his head. "Go back and leave." Zhu Chuan looked at Wei King helplessly and could only follow the others. After arriving at Zhu's house, they found that Zhu Ruang had not returned. However, neither of them cared. They could be with Fen Lin again. Anyway, with Gou following her, everything would be fine. Not good. Gouan suddenly walked over, holding his mobile phone and said, "Gou can't find Miss Zhu and can't get through to her when he calls her." "What? Didn't Mr. Gou follow Zhang all the time?" Zhu Chuan's expression changed. "No, Gou said that when you were at Gou's house, he went to the bathroom and smoked a cigarette. When he came out, Miss Zhu's car was gone." Gouan's face became serious. "Husband. It must be Yishen. It's Yishen's hand." Wei King said nervously from the side. "It's possible. I'm going to call the police now." Zhu Chuan immediately took out his cell phone. "No need, Mr. Zhu." Gou was the first to inform Mr. Zhu and is already at the police station. Gouan comforted him. "Don't worry, Miss Zhu was protected by the Zhu family and no one can touch her." "That's right." Zhu Chuan and Wei King looked at each other and nodded. This is true. No matter how powerful Yishen is, she would not dare to offend the Zhu family. Song family mansion. Song Zhentel and others were sitting on the sofa. He looked at Huang Wei and asked, "Is this true?" "It's true." Zhu Ruang disappeared. The Zhu family went to the police station to get surveillance cameras. Huang Wei nodded. "Dad." Zhu Ruang didn't give Yishen face today, and then she kicked him out again. Something unpleasant must have happened. Song Fan crossed his legs and guessed with a smile. "Unpleasant. Check Fen Lin to see if he has disappeared too." Song Zhentel immediately said, "Since Zhu Ruang left, Fen Lin must be among the parties who provoked Yishen." Huang Wei nodded and walked out immediately. "By the way, I have Fen Lin's number here." Song Fan took out his mobile phone and dialed Fen Lin's number, which would prove whether Fen Lin had been kidnapped. Several people around were listening to their cell phones. "Sorry, the number you dialed is temporarily unavailable." After hearing this, Song Keming immediately took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhu Ruang's number. Sorry, the number you dialed is temporarily unavailable. Du Qingyu showed an imperceptible smile. He had roughly guessed what Feng Lin was going to do. So, Yi Shen must have caught them both. Song Zhentou also felt a little scared. As expected from a member of the Yi family, it seemed like there were experts around Yi Shen. Dad. I'm not willing to let Feng Lin die in Yi Shen's hands like this. Song Keming looked gloomy. If Feng Lin really was killed, they could let Du Qingyu go. He didn't want Feng Lin and Zhu Ruang to die so simply. Du Qingyu suddenly spoke, ready to add more fuel to the flames, to return Feng Lin's favor for letting her go. I have an idea, I don't know if I should talk about it or not. Song Zhentou said with a smile. Miss Du is one of us, but it doesn't matter. I think Mr. Song is very smart. So far, it has not been openly disadvantageous to the Zhu family. Now that something happens to Feng Lin and the Zhu family, people will definitely not doubt you. Du Qingyu sat on the sofa and opened a popsicle stick and stuffed it into his mouth after saying that. Song Zhentou looked surprised, and suddenly realized. Ha ha ha. Mr. Need me enlightened. Fam, contact Yi Shen immediately, I want to find her. Dad. I don't understand it yet. Song Fan looked confused. Song Keming was even more confused. Let me ask you, now that Feng Lin and Zhu Ruang are dead, who was the most suspicious? Song Zhentou asked with a smile. So of course, Yi Shen. Song Fan and Song Keming said together. Yes, if we shed some blood and ask Yi even if they die, no one will doubt us. After listening to Song Zhentou's explanation, Song Zhentou Fan and Song Keming gave Du Qingyu a thumbs up again and again. Let me tell you, this is just one, but what about the second one? Song Zhentou's eyes were a little sinister. After that, if we kill Zhu Chuan, who will be suspected? Song Fan clapped his hands hard. It's still Yi Shen. It's true. The Yi family, where Yi Shen lives, is the sworn enemy of the Wei family behind us. Song Zhentou paused and continued. When we kill Zhu Chuan, if there's any more noise, the state will definitely investigate Yi Shen. They were sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall. Suddenly, the iron door opened. Wang Jian walked over, pointed at Feng Lin and said, Come out. Don't worry, Feng Lin gave Zhu Ruang a reassuring smile. Chapter 54 Hidden Merit and Fame. After Feng Lin left, the iron gate closed again. Wang Jian led Feng Lin to another room in the distance, where Yi Shen was drinking coffee. What was this underground warehouse used for before? Feng Lin walked in with a smile, sat on a chair and asked. Sir, you should have also heard how I got to this point. Those disobedient people were locked up here for a few months and they all lived in peace. Yi, the money you want is the cost of your work for me this time. Before leaving, Feng Lin suddenly turned back. Okay, I think you're worried about your girlfriend being hungry. Do you need someone to match you? Yi Feng Lin planned the subsequent deaths of the 3 members of the Song family. I'm afraid he won't be able to accept the murder. Come in. The iron door opened. The young man following Feng Lin pushed him in and closed the door. Feng Lin, are you okay? Zhu Ruang hurriedly ran over and supported Feng Lin's body. Just scold me a few times and slap me a few times. Your boss hasn't arrived yet, so beatings don't hurt. Feng Lin smiled at Zhu Ruang and pushed her back to sit on the quilt on the floor. Zhu Ruang's eyes were slightly red. She held Feng Lin's cheek and asked with concern, Does it hurt? It doesn't hurt. I have tough skin. A few slaps are as good as nothing. Feng Lin shook his head slightly. Don't cry. Have you forgotten that I was a Special Forces soldier? Humph. It's all your fault. You're so good, why did you provoke Yi to lean against Feng Lin? Our boss is in an emergency and won't be back for a while. You can't starve to death during this period. The round-faced man in front turned and said, Bring it. Here it comes. Another man carried some bags, a total of 4 meat buns and 2 bags of milk. However, this man did not seal in immediately, but simply waved in front of them. Zhu Ruang swallowed. In fact, he was a little hungry. Are you a couple? The round-faced man raised his machete, pointed at Feng Lin and asked. Feng Lin frowned slightly. Yes, what's wrong? Nothing. I like watching romantic movies. The round-faced strong man looked at Zhu Ruang. You, kiss this man immediately or I will cut off his hand. Hearing this, Zhu Ruang was so scared that her face turned pale. Feng Lin remembered the matchup that Yi Shen mentioned before and it turned out to be this. This Yi Shen is a bit interesting. Zhu Ruang lowered her head with a blushing face. His fingers were spinning, not knowing what to do. I knew you were a fake couple. When I cut this child, I will play with you. The round-faced man walked towards Feng Lin with a machete. I won't do it. Zhu Ruang's eyes were so scared that she gritted her teeth and her face was so red that she could bleed. But this is to seal the forest. Duh. After that, Zhu Wang was so embarrassed that she shaked hers and kept her head down, not daring to look at Fen Lin. Haha. Not bad. Give it another 50 hits and you won't be able to repeat the same place. The round-faced strong man said coldly. Zhu Wang clenched her fists tightly, but for Fen Lin, she had no choice but to do so except her face, hands and arms. I finally got 50 results. Okay, let's eat. The round-faced strong man gestured for the food to be put next to him, and they turned and left. Closing the door, the round-faced strong man winked at Fen Lin, hiding his merit and fame. Duh. Zhu Wang looked at Fen Lin and immediately went to the bathroom to rinse her mouth. You actually don't like me and you still want to chase me. Fen Lin touched his face, smiled, took out the meat buns from the bag and started eating. I despise you. If I wasn't trying to save you, I wouldn't. Zhu Wang still feels her heart beating faster. You should know that before this, she had all of her first times in her hands. Now one is missing. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, he also grabbed a meat bun. 9 p.m. The Narcissus Club Cafe. Yi Shen and Song Zhentao sat across from each other at the table. Next to Song Zhentao were his two sons, and behind Yi Shen was Wei Jian. Mrs. Yi seems a little loud, doesn't she? I only want 2 people, and you really want 800 million. Song Zhentao looked at the contract in his hand and tapped his fingers on the table with a smile. I remember that Miss Yi's personal assets are now only more than 1 billion. Mr. Song, I'm not stupid. Although we did it very cleanly, everyone can guess that the disappearance of the 2 people has something to do with Yi Shen took the coffee, his eyes gradually narrowed. What if you kill them and I will be the culprit? Miss Yi is serious, there are so many people who are not afraid of you. Death, can you find a scapegoat? Song Zhentao touched his chin and smiled. Yi Song Zhentao's arm with a pleading look on his face. He felt that if he did not take revenge, he would be tormented for the rest of his life. Song Zhentao was also deep in thought. He did not do business at a loss. 800 million, plus the 500 million paid to Duqingyu. This time 1.3 billion has been spent. He wondered if it was worth it. After capturing Fen Lin and Zhu Wang, and then killing Zhu Chuan and Wei Qing to blame Yi Shen, something must have happened to him. Duqingyu still has several opportunities to kill people and can do many things to sow discord. Thinking of this, Song Zhentao slammed the table. I agree. Mr. Song is very happy. Yi Fen Lin. Zhu Wang immediately grabbed Fen Lin's arm. Don't worry. Wait for me. Fen Lin gave Zhu Wang a reassuring look. After leaving the room, Wei Jian stood outside, took Fen Lin out of the underground warehouse and walked out. It's completely dark now. Are you okay? Fen Lin asked. Okay, according to the plan, we will let them wait in front of this mountain road in the suburbs. Wei Jian pointed to the map on his phone. Okay, you will have nothing to do from now on. Fen Lin stretched his body, took out a pair of black gloves from his pocket, put his hands in his trouser pockets, and disappeared into the night. Wei Jian returned to Yi Shen and found that several people from the Song family had left. Sister Yi, don't we need to send someone to take a look? Wei Jian asked. No, Fen Lin's purpose is simply to allow me to attract firepower. If I send someone there, the blame will really fall on me. Yi returned to this life, the corner of the suburban mountain road. Song Zhentao's Rolls-Royce Phantom is parked here. Apart from the 3 of them, Wang Wei was the driver this time. He would always take Wang Wei with him crazy. Why aren't you here yet? Song came in, who was sitting in the passenger seat, secretly cursed and couldn't wait any longer. In the past few days, he had thought of countless ways to torture Fen Lin, such as feeding him 10 bottles of Viagra and then throw it into a pigsty. Thinking of this, he suddenly laughed out loud. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a voice came from outside Song Keming's window. Chapter 55. She is also my fiancée. Song Keming was surprised. As for Wang Wei, he turned on all the lights and found a figure outside. Who are you trying to scare? With Wang Wei protecting him, Song Keming was fearless. He opened the window and cursed the people outside. Wang Wei also looked at the figure outside through the window. Only a man seen with a black mask. Wang Wei took a closer look and his pupils shrank in fear. On the white mask was the word. As a former warrior, Wang Wei knew very well what this mask represented. His body trembled and his ears began to ring, but he gritted his teeth and remained calm. It was just a mask, maybe someone was trying to scare him. This was the first time that Song Zhentao saw Wang Wei's expression and also looked outside, not knowing who the masked person was. You, who are you, Your Excellency? Boom. Before Wang Wei finished speaking, his head suddenly felt a sharp pain and he couldn't breathe. It seemed as if an invisible hand was grabbing my throat. Again, have mercy on me. Huang Wei began to gag, covering his neck with his hands, and roared at the top of his lungs. Cold sweat formed on his forehead in the blink of an eye. None of the 3 Song family people around them knew what was going on. However, their patron saint was so frightened that they did not dare to breathe. Step on the accelerator and get out of here. Fen Lin's voice was very low. Huang Wei found that his neck suddenly felt good, so he immediately stepped on the accelerator and drove away. Mr. Huang, what happened? Song Zhentou asked in a deep voice when he found the car starting. Don't ask. Kemming got into big trouble, let's go back first. Huang Wei's breathing was very fast and he accelerated, just wanting to get out of this ghost place as soon as possible. But when the mountain road curved ahead, the right tire on the front wheel suddenly exploded. The car leaned quickly to the right, knowing there was a cliff below. Boom. The car hit the edge railing and fell straight down. Ah! Several screams were heard and the car crashed into the rock below. With a loud noise, the luxury car collapsed. Fen Lin fell down the cliff. Actually, it would be difficult for a car to explode if it fell from a high place. I wanted to help. Help. Song Kemming's voice was very weak, his head had been violently hit just now, his eyes were completely dark, and he couldn't see anything. Fen Lin opened the lighter and lit the gasoline underneath. Call. In the blink of an eye, the flames reached the fuel tank and set the entire car on fire. Through the fever light, Song Kemming saw the person in front of him, stretched out his hand and pleaded, help. Help. Fen Lin took off his mask, folded it, and put it in his pocket. You are, Fen Lin? Song Kemming shouted. The flames had burned his body, but his legs were stuck and he couldn't escape at all. Fen Lin, save me, save me. I was wrong. I shouldn't have provoked you, save me, ah. Flames spread throughout his body. Song Zhentou and Song Fan did not die immediately. However, the impact put them in a semi-conscious state and they were unable to make a sound. He just vaguely saw Fen Lin, with infinite regret in his eyes. What bother with this person? Facing Song Kemming's plea for mercy, Fen Lin looked neither happy nor sad. The people who once provoked him were like this before they died. Initially, Fen Lin was also filled with sympathy. But after letting them go, what awaits them is a more violent revenge. Time always teaches a lot. Boom. With a vibration, Huang Wei broke free from the car. His original plan was for Fen Lin to turn around and leave when he saw that the matter was over. But he's still standing here. Uncle Huang. Haha. I knew you were fine, kill him quickly. Kill Fen Lin. Song Kemming laughed with a distorted face, not caring about the flames on his body. Now he just wants Fen Lin to die. Kill him. Huang Wei was not a fool, although he was not sure if Fen Lin was the legendary Death Doctor. But Jin's transformation just now was not fake. Transformation. The realm above the dark force. Simply put, dark energy can be released and turned into something tangible. For example, just now, Fen Lin turned Jin into a hand and grabbed his neck. It is rumored that everyone who enters this kingdom is a bit shot. Just like the rich Jiangbai family, the Wei family. I heard that there was a person in the realm of transformation, which made the Wei family become a truly rich family. Oh. Huang Wei flee directly into the dark mountain forest. But how could he escape from Fen Lin's clutches? Fen Lin had already written the script and several people would die here. A silver needle pierced the back of Huang Wei's head and he collapsed on the spot. Fen Lin returned to the factory and called Yi Xin. Tell him it's all over. Let them come back tonight. After finishing speaking, he returned to the room. When Zhu Ruoying saw Fen Lin return, she hugged him and shouted, "Where have you been? Haven't you come back in so long? You scared me to death." The iron door opened and Wang Jian entered. He held Zhu Ruoying's bag in his hand and handed it to Zhu Ruoying. "You can go." "Oh. Can you go?" Zhu Ruoying looked at Fen Lin, wondering what he was doing. What exactly happened? "Let's go quickly." Fen Lin grabbed Zhu Ruoying and ran away from here. Outside the warehouse is Fen Lin's electric car. Fen Lin took Zhu Ruoying and left here. Zhu Ruoying felt like she was surviving a disaster. Facing the night wind, he hugged Fen Lin with his arms and pressed his cheek against her back. After a long time, he said softly, "Fen Lin, you have suffered." Fen Lin smiled slightly and said, "It's nothing, it's over anyway." Zhu Ruoying's face was a little moved. Fen Lin wanted to leave her. "Sao, you must have suffered inhuman torture. What happened?" When Zhu Ruoying said this, he hugged her tighter. "Well, because it turns out that she is Fen Lin's fiancé. I thought he was my enemy, so I worried about him and cried for a long time." He pinched Fen Lin hard and scolded, "Stop the car. Get off." "What's wrong?" I broke off the engagement with her, Fen Lin said, pretending to be aggrieved. The third ring is here, you can't take anyone with you. Zhu Wang bulged her mouth and pushed Fen Lin down with both hands, rode an electric bicycle and turned it all the way. Early the next morning, a piece of news shocked the entire Zhang city. The head of the Song family, Song Zhangtao, his 2 sons and the driver died in a car accident. For ordinary people in Zhang city, it is just a trivial matter, but in the upper-class society of Zhang city, it caused huge waves. Especially the other large families. You know, all the death lists have been tested, and the driver among them is Guang Wei. That was the strongest ancient warrior of the Song family. How could they throw him to death? After the news was published, the local police station immediately took Yi Shen away based on the traces. Because the 3 people of the Song family met Yi Shen before they were in the car accident. Zhu family. When Wang King saw the news, he wanted to put a firecracker at the door and set up a few tables. Unexpectedly, the Song family, who had always wanted to kill them, died first. Zhu Chuan's hanging heart finally fell. Fen Lin slept at Zhu Ruang's house last night. In the morning, Zhu Ruang also saw the news and immediately went to Zhu's house. As for Fen Lin, he rode an electric bicycle to Zhu's house. Good morning, sir. Zhu Yuan saw Fen Lin and greeted him with a smile. Good news and bad news, sir, which one should I hear first? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 56. It's time to wake up. Fen Lin did not get out of the car, but sat in his electric car with his legs on the ground. He hesitated for a moment and then said with a smile, here's some bad news first to calm the shock. The Song family's affairs are causing a big scandal this time. I heard that Yi Wei family has also become alarmed and will arrive at the Song family mansion around noon. There is nothing to be afraid of. Fen Lin shook his head slightly. The good news is what? Zhu Yuan said with a smile. The good news is that my daughter has taken my husband's medicine and her complexion is getting better and better. Fen Lin rolled his eyes, thinking it was a good thing. But barely, you can't say that someone's body is recovering and that's a bad thing. Fen Lin was riding an electric bicycle and was about to leave when his cell phone received a strange text message. Fen Lin, you are such an interesting person. I'm going home first. There was another signature at the back, duking you. Fen Lin gave a bitter smile, but finally retreated, hoping not to meet again in the future. Today is Sunday and there are no classes at school. Fen Lin was going to find Zhu Wang. The crisis in the Zhu family has been resolved and Fen Lin is ready to break off the engagement with her. He had just arrived by bicycle at Zhaoyuan Gate and found a Lincoln parked here. 2 people came down from above. The leader was a middle-aged woman with short shoulder-length hair dyed yellow and a very slim figure. Behind the middle-aged woman is a middle-aged man in a suit. His figure was as straight as a sword and he looked round with sinister eyes. Like a poisonous snake spying on its prey. Suddenly, he touched his nose. Just for a moment, Fen Lin noticed the tattoo on the back of his hand. That's a black Chinese character. Don't worry. Fen Lin felt his heartbeat begin to accelerate and a wave of anger washed over his forehead. The Land of the 9 Netherworlds. It is an organization hidden in the dark and very mysterious. He does no harm and treats human life as nothing. Liu Nian was his undercover agent. If he hadn't caught them, Liu Nian wouldn't have been exposed. I'm Wei Yangzi, just tell me my name. The middle-aged woman looked at the security guard at the door with a dull expression and looked at Fen Lin indifferently. Suddenly his expression froze and he looked at Fen Lin. Wei Yanzi. Fen Lin heard Zhu Yuan mention this name. She was the illegitimate daughter of the Wei family's second eldest son and Song Zhangtao's wife. You don't need to think why he came here this time. However, the people of the Wei family are actually connected to Jia Land, and Fen Lin must investigate clearly. Who are you? My second uncle is very busy. Fen Lin was a little surprised. Does this woman know him? Why is there hate in your eyes? My name is Wei Yanzi, Song Zhangtao's wife. Wei Yanzi looked at Fen Lin with cold eyes. It turns out that we're from the Song family. Please come in and I will take you in. Fen Lin turned the electric car and slowly led the way. He was thinking in his heart. There must be something wrong. Could it be that the secret has been exposed? He remembers having a very clean start. Naturally, the security guards around them did not dare to intersect them. Zhu Yuan had said before that Fen Lin's words were what he meant. Zhu Yuan is still active in the art and is very worried about his body. Second uncle. People from the Song family are here to find you. Fen Lin rode an electric bicycle and shouted from a distance. This was also a reminder to Zhu Yuan. Zhu Yuan looked behind Fen Lin and couldn't help but raise his face. He didn't expect to arrive so soon. It turns out to be Miss Wei. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Zhu Yuan pointed to the stone table next to him. Please sit down. No. Wei Yanzi stood in front of Zhu Yuan and said calmly, I would like to ask about Song Zhangtao. Sorry, I heard it on the news this morning. It seems there was a car accident last night. Zhu Yuan shook his head gently, looking helpless. Impossible. The driver this time is Wang Wei. He has dark strength. Even if others die, he will not die. Wei Yanzi denied it flatly. Fen Lin rode an electric bicycle and circled around here. This woman still had some brains. Zhu Yuan asked, have you read the autopsy report? Yes, he was burnt alive. At this point, Wei Yanzi's eyes gradually narrowed. Let me ask Mr. Zhu, who in Zhang City can defeat Wang Wei? Who was in the kingdom of Anjin? Burnt alive. Doubt me. Zhu Yuan's eyes were solemn. No. I'm just asking if there's another teacher in Zhang City. Wei Yanzi took out a document from his body. This is my husband's bank transaction record from the police station investigation over the past few days. Fen Lin raised his eyes and listened carefully. My husband has spent more than 1 billion in the past few days, all of which were transferred to overseas private accounts. There are 2 cards in total. The first card transferred 500 million, and the second card transferred 800 million. Wei Yanzi said flatly. In the middle, something must have happened. I really don't know anything about this, and I haven't heard of anyone Mr. Song has had conflicts with recently. Zhu Yuan continued to pretend to be confused. Miss Wei can go see other families, maybe they will know something. I've already been there. My husband's matter was not investigated, but my son Song Keming found out a little bit. Wei Yanzi took out his mobile phone and opened a surveillance video. Yesterday, when Mr. Gu celebrated his birthday, my son and his nephew had a close relationship. Lin, there was a conflict. Fen Lin, who was still wondering here, suddenly braked. I see. He was still wondering why this woman was looking at him badly. Ha ha ha. Fen Lin, please explain to Miss Wei. Zhu Yuan didn't expect that the other party had actually guessed it right. Young Master Song and I have a little conflict. It's true, but I won't let my second uncle kill him. Fen Lin didn't bother to explain. Since he had a surveillance camera, he obviously knew what happened. Yesterday. They even investigated the previous reporter, and the angle was one of the 3 golden flowers in Zhang City. You can get news out of his mouth. Song Keming wants to deal with Fen Lin. I suddenly remembered that I have proof of an alibi. I watch TV in the living room almost every night after 9. Surveillance can prove it. Zhu Yuan suddenly remembered and invited Wei Yanzi to his living room. No, I believe Mr. Zhu. I'm just here to ask this time. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Wei Yanzi turned and left. Before leaving, he took a deep look at Fen Lin. It wasn't until their backs disappeared that Zhu Kai smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Fen Lin, did something happen to us? No, something happened to them. Have you heard of the 9 others? Fen Lin asked calmly. Zhu Yuan's eyes suddenly became solemn. It is the rumored great organization capable of subverting several countries. Fen Lin nodded. That's them. The middle-aged man behind Wei Yanzi just now is one of them. His expression changed. He suddenly turned pale and said, Sir, don't scare me. That kind of organization can destroy us with a finger. Don't be excited. The people with the inscriptions on their bodies are the lowest level. People. These people are all in the land of Jiao. It's not life. Fen Lin rode an electric bicycle and left Zhu's house. He has been suppressing the murderous intent and avoiding revenge. But this group of people had no sight and came to him on their own. In the dead silent night, it is time to wake up. Chapter 57. It turns out that it is on the 5th floor. There are only 7 people in total in Death Night, and each of them is a strong man who can fight 1 against 100. Especially number 2. Inside the Dead Night, everyone is called Loji. For example, Fen Lin is number 1 and is called boss by others. Liu Nian was number 3, that's why they called him Lao San. But it is different when number 2 is called. All number 2s are called Eric, including Fen Lin. The other party was half of Fen Lin's master. Fen Lin flipped through his phone book and murmured softly, Second master's legs are uncomfortable, so I can only call him 4th. Hello? The phone was connected and a neutral voice came from the other end, very softly. Without any fluctuation. 4th brother, I haven't seen you for a long time and you are so cold to me. Fen Lin also stopped the electric car, his expression a little sad. Sikam Jin is still the same as before, he can say 1 word but never 2. Okay, I'm going to hang up. Stop. Among us, you're the only one who has the most free time. Come and help me. I found traces of the 9 Netherlands. Fen Lin's eyes looked at the tall buildings in the distance. Sikong Jin stood there for a while and then said, "Are you cooperating with the country again?" "No. It's just our organization, Death Knight," Fen Lin whispered. "Address I will send it to you." Fen Lin showed a smile. With the help of the 4th son, anything he did here would be much more convenient. Sikong Jin is 1 year younger than Fen Lin and his talent is even equal to Fen Lin. Among the original 7 Dead Knight people, apart from numbers 1 and 2, the strongest was Sikong Jin. She has a nickname, given by Liu Nianqi, called Empress Sikong. There are 3 women in the Dead Knight, number 3, number 5 and number 7. All 3 have entered the beautiful women industry. But in terms of beauty traps, these 3 beauties were no match for Sikong Jin's feminine clothing. Fen Lin rode an electric bicycle to Zhu's house. Zhu Yuan's family of 3 was chatting in the yard. After the incident with the Song family ended, Zhu Yuan had transferred all the 2 masters protecting them back. Fen Lin. When Zhu Ruang saw Fen Lin, she immediately stood up and walked towards Fen Lin. Wei King looked at Fen Lin with some dissatisfaction. However, today he was happy and did not bother Fen Lin. "I'm here to break the engagement." Fen Lin looked at Zhu Ruang without hesitation. "The Song family matter is over. This is our original agreement." Zhu Chuan opened his mouth, originally wanting to say something, but closed it again. After what happened this time, he also looked away. Let him make the decision about his daughter's marriage. Anyway, the Zhu family is not short of money. Even if their daughter never gets married, they can still afford it. If you break the engagement, break the engagement. Do you really think my daughter can't get married? Wei King felt that Fen Lin was embarrassed, as if his daughter was not worthy of him. Fen Lin was used to barking dogs and was too lazy to get angry with those people. He just looked at Zhu Ruang, waiting for her response. "I will not retire." Zhu Ruang crossed her arms and her perfect figure became more prominent. He repeated again, "I will not retire." Zhu Chuan shook his head slightly in the distance. "How could I not see it? My daughter might really like Fen Lin." "What do you mean?" We clearly agreed. Fen Lin rolled his eyes helplessly. "Zhao Ying. Let's break off the engagement. You are so beautiful, let alone a fake marriage. Even if you are really divorced, there will be many people chasing you." Wei King explained from the side. He knew those young talents in Zhang City. Which one is not better than Fen Lin? Zhu Ruang was too lazy to talk to Wei King. She put her hands in her trouser pockets and walked out. I didn't know what he was thinking, much less how he felt. Anyway, she felt uncomfortable when she found out that Fen Lin was going to divorce her and marry Lan Rao. Fen Lin followed Zhu Ruang on his electric bicycle. Wei King looked at the backs of the 2 and sat next to Zhu Chuan angrily. "You don't care. How come our daughter is not worthy of him?" Zhu Chuan shook his head with a smile and did not speak. As the 2 they were chatting, the security guard at the door quickly ran over. "There are people outside who call themselves the Song family and want to see them." "The Song family?" Wei King seemed a little scared. "Are they dead?" "Please." Zhu Chuan tried to remain calm. After a while, Wei Yanzi walked over with a middle-aged man from before. "Hello, who are you?" he asked with a bewildered expression on his face. "Mr. Zhu, I am Wei Yanzi, Song Zhentai's wife." Wei Yanzi looked around and found that there were no teachers here. In fact, it was an ordinary small family. "It turns out to be Mrs. Song. Please take a seat." The skinny camel is bigger than the horse. Although Song Zhentai was dead, Wei Yanzi is the legal heir. Such a large family fortune can still easily overwhelm the Zhu family. Wei Yanzi shook his head slightly. "No, I'm here to learn about a person from you. His name is Fen Lin." "Fen Lin?" Wei King stood up and asked, "How could that poor child be known by people like that?" "A big shot." "That's right, it's Fen Lin, Zhu Yuan's nephew," Wei Yanzi explained. "Zhu Yuan's nephew?" Wei King's eyes almost popped out of his head. Fen Lin was Zhu Yuan's nephew. There is any error. These are no ordinary relatives. Sister Zhu Yuan is Fen Lin's mother. This kind of relative is not comparable to the 3 aunts and 8 aunts. It is not surprising. Zhu Ziyang couldn't move Zhu Yuan, but Fen Lin could. Fen Lin had deliberately lied to them before, saying that he had been a soldier. In fact, it is because of his identity. And Zhu Yuan gave the order of 300 million yuan to the Zhu family because of his face. I see. Not good. Wei King's face suddenly turned pale as paper, and Zhu Ruang and Fen Lin walked out together. "You're not really getting a divorce, are you?" "Absolutely not. Zhu Yuan only has 1 daughter, Zhu Ziyang, who will eventually get married. His many assets will definitely be distributed to Fen Lin. Wei Qing immediately took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhu Ruang's number. Although Zhu Chuan was not as excited as Wei Qin, he was still moved in his heart. It turns out that Feng Lin is Zhu Yuan's nephew. He finally understood. I used to wonder why my father, who never did a loss-making business in his life, asked her to agree to Zhu Ruang's marriage before he died. They even forced him to take an oath. It turns out that his father is on the 5th floor. He had long known that Feng Lin's mother was Zhu Yuan's sister. That's why she reached a marriage agreement with Feng Lin's father. If Feng Lin's identity is exposed and compromised, Zhu Yuan may not agree and will feel that the Zhu family is coveting the Zhu family's property. But Zhu Yuan definitely wouldn't say anything when booking a baby kiss. Oh. Haha. To be honest with Mrs. Song, Feng Lin and my daughter have been engaged since they were children. Zhu Chuan left. Oh. So we have been married since we were young. What about Feng Lin? Wei Yanzi asked. Feng Lin, this child, is loyal and honest, respects his elders, respects the elders, and loves the young. He is a rare good man. Wei Qing couldn't get through on the phone and was eager to die, but she still praised Feng Lin. Really? I heard that Feng Lin had a conflict with my son Song Keming. Wei Yanzi suddenly narrowed his eyes and asked. Do they have any conflict? I don't know. Zhu Chuan is a good person. Even with Feng Lin, a noble man, he still can't provoke the Song family. P.S. Brothers, please support me. Chapter 58. But he is a man. Wei Yanzi chatted with Zhu Chuan a few more words and then left. Zhu Chuan's response was impeccable. It seemed that Wei Yanzi didn't know the relationship between the Song family and Feng Lin. As Feng Lin's future father-in-law and future father, he would naturally side with Feng Lin. Wei Qing kept calling desperately, but couldn't get through. He could only call Zhu Ruang's phone number. Until now, he didn't even have Feng Lin's mobile phone number. Zhu Ruang put her hands in her trouser pockets and walked along this path. She looked at her mother's phone and must have been urging her to divorce Feng Lin. When Zhu Ruang got angry, she turned off her phone. Feng Lin followed him on an electric scooter. Zhu Ruang, what do you mean? Tell me, I have other fiancés. I can't stay married to you, right? Zhu Ruang still doesn't know what to say. She's not a fool. Maybe, probably, I would like some Feng Lin. They say that if you like someone, you can't help but imitate their actions. She suddenly discovered that she, who had never liked putting her hands in her pockets, actually liked this action these days. Otherwise, you should go see the other fiancés first. Maybe they're not as good as me. Zhu Ruang stopped and said calmly. This isn't fair to you. Are you going to be my spare tire? Feng Lin shook his head. Okay. I've never been a spare tire before and I'm curious how it feels. After Zhu Ruang finished speaking, she grabbed her hair. When had she been so confused? This temperament is not hers at all. She took a deep breath. Returned to his previous appearance and shouted at Feng Lin. I won't leave you. You bite me. You're so shameless. Feng Lin has never seen this kind of thing before. If a woman is ugly and eager to get married, it's easy to understand. Such a beautiful woman can be so shameless. I'm shameless. What's wrong? Zhu Ruang gloriously admitted. She sat in the back seat of Feng Lin's electric car. Send me home. Feng Lin said heavily. Anyway, she would still be in Zhang City recently. We need to investigate Wei Yanzi. If the Wei family and Jia Land have cooperative relationship, even the Wei family are Jia Land's minions, then this family must disappear. Before passing by Lan Ru's yard, he found her exercising. Today is Sunday and Lan Rao usually trains to prevent her body from being wasted. Feng Lin. Come and give me some advice. I usually don't have time, but I finally met Feng Lin today. Besides, Feng Lin is a dead man. Although his strength may be behind him, he is definitely better than me. After Lan Rao's reminder, Feng Lin also remembered that his father asked him to teach Zhu Ruang. Zhenku did not have the opportunity to train the two of them together. Come to Zhu Ruang's house. Feng Lin said to Lan Rao. Feng Lin charged his electric car and looked at the two beauties in front of him. Zhu Ruang was wearing black sports clothes with a single ponytail. Lan Ru wore red sports clothes, took off her glasses, and tied her hair in a bun. Feng Lin clasped his hands behind his back, as if overwhelmed by the high altitude. If you want to become stronger, the first thing you should do is improve your physical fitness. Let's do 100 burpees first. Lan Rao was very strong and did it in a very standard manner, one after another. Zhu Ruang's physical condition is also very strong, but when she was 30 years old, she couldn't keep up with her breathing and couldn't use her arms. However, Zhu Ruang was someone who refused to admit defeat. She looked at Lan Rao next to her, gritted her teeth, and followed her pace. I'm done. Lan Ru raised his hands, with a little sweat on his forehead. It's okay, Zhuang is only 48 years old, keep doing it. Fen Lin pointed at Lan Rao. You now think of me as your enemy, you saw means to kill me. Alright. Lan rounded Fen Lin. With his strength and no mercy, he suddenly rushed over, grabbed Fen Lin's arm, and tried to throw him over his shoulder. Idiot, I am my enemy, how dare you turn your back on me? Fen Lin grabbed the back of Lan Rao's neck with his other hand and pressed down hard. Boom. Lan Rao was pushed to the ground by Fen Lin. You will die if I have a knife in my hand. Come back. Fen Lin let go of Lan Rao and took a step back. Lan Rao was very excited, she could really progress by following the teacher. At 11:30 noon, Fen Lin's cell phone vibrated. He immediately logged in and said with a smile, "Are you there?" "Well, at the airport, I'll enable location sharing for you." After saying that, Si Kongjin hung up the phone. "Okay. You two rest and eat. I'll go out for a while." Fen Lin got on his little electric donkey and was about to leave. "Fen Lin, don't you want to eat?" Lan Rao walked over and asked. Fen Lin waved his hand. "No, my friend and I will eat together." Watching Fen Lin leave, Zhuang and Lan Rao looked at each other. "I guess he's looking for a woman again," Zhuang said coldly. "Follow me," Lan Rao asked. "Alright." The two reached a consensus. When they saw Fen Lin leave, they got into Lan Ru's national car together. On the contrary, the more common a car is, the harder it is to detect. The Eastern District is a suburb, and beyond it is the Jiang City Airport. It is only 10 kilometers away. Due to the nearby airport, I invested in a villa area here. Fen Lin rode his electric bicycle and finally arrived outside the airport. Parking the car, he drove away via location sharing on WeChat. From afar, I saw several men surreptitiously taking photographs with their mobile phones. On the mobile phone screen there was a man dressed in a suit, sunglasses and pigtails. Some men could also be heard talking. "This girl is so beautiful. I just took a look. She wasn't even wearing makeup, no makeup at all. Yes, I didn't expect the girl to be so handsome in a suit." Fen Lin smiled bitterly. This scene, how familiar. He walked over and patted Si Kongjin on the shoulder. Fourth. Si Kongjin took off his sunglasses, revealing a face of golden proportions. She has an almost perfect face and you can't even see her pores unless you look closely. Bright eyes and white teeth even give people a feeling of beauty. But, he is a man. Compared with Fen Lin, Si Kongjin's height is not too tall, only about 1.75 meters. It was the sight and figure that allowed him to avoid being discovered when he disguised himself as a woman to murder people. Fen Lin immediately hugged him and put his arm around his shoulders. "How have you been these past few years?" "Not bad." Si Kongjin put his sunglasses in his inner pocket, with an imperceptible smile on his lips. "Haha. It's the same as before, I'll treat you to dinner." Fen Lin patted Si Kongjin on the back several times and led the way. Si Kongjin followed Fen Lin with one hand in his pants pocket. The people around watched helplessly as this great beauty got into the electric car. Some people can't help but curse their mothers. Nowadays, do such innocent women still exist? Lan Ru and Zhuang were watching in the car respectively, and although it was only a profile view, they still saw Si Kongjin. It must be his fiancée again. Zhuang gritted her teeth secretly, even though her figure was impressive. But judging from the face, the other party is really on par with her. "Fourth brother, as always, your favorite is braised chicken." Fen Lin took Si Kongjin into the city and said with a smile along the way. Si Kongjin's eyes were looking at the rear-view mirror of the electric car, and his tone was calm. "Someone is following me, I'm going to kill him." Chapter 59. What are you doing in the men's bathroom? No, we're alone. Fen Lin smiled awkwardly. With their tracking technology, they had already discovered it when they went to the airport. "Oh really?" Si Kongjin turned around and looked at the car behind him. "The boss's popularity among women is still very good. Stop talking nonsense. If you're a little more enthusiastic, there will definitely be more girls." Fen Lin smiled and shook his head. There were 7 people in total on the night of the death. Number 3 was an undercover agent and number 6 was dead. Now there are only 5 people left. After Fen Lin disbanded the night of death, all the top leaders of the country's secret army invited them. But these people refused, saying that only the mortuary doctor could remove them. Although Fen Lin was far away abroad, he still heard the news. It would be false to remain impassive. "I thought they would cut your hair after death." Night dissolved. Fen Lin looked at Si Kongjin through the rear-view mirror. "I remember that in the early days he wore a wig, but it was too easy to discover. To facilitate the murder he let his hair grow." "I'm used to it," Si Kongjin said calmly. In fact, he knew that Fen Lin's setback was only temporary and that he would meet Deck Knight sooner or later. He's been waiting. At a braised chicken restaurant in the Eastern District, Fen Lin parked his electric car in front of the store and walked in with Sakam Jin. "Boss, 2 large portions of braised chicken, so spicy," Fen Lin said to the boss who was playing on the computer. "All right." The boss looked at Fen Lin and Sakam Jin and admired Sakam Jin's beauty. But he just looked at it a few more times. No matter how beautiful the person was, it had nothing to do with him. Making money was more important. Fen Lin took out 2 bottles of Coca-Cola from the refrigerator and the 2 sat opposite each other at the table. Zhu Wang and Lan Rao also arrived at the door. They were still debating whether to enter or not. In the end, they still had to go take a look. The 2 got out of the car together and walked to the hotel. When Zhu Wang saw Fen Lin, she raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Fen Lin, why are you here?" Fen Lin rolled his eyes. "Don't you know why I'm here?" However, as a man with high emotional intelligence, he still decided to move forward without telling the truth. "I just picked up my friend at the airport today, so I'm going to grab something to eat here." "Is this your friend?" Lan Rao gently pushed. Wearing glasses, he greeted with a smile. "Hello, I'm Lan Rao." "Yeah." Sakam Jin nodded gently, took a sip of Coca-Cola, and didn't say another word. "Haha. Sorry, that's just how it is, my friend. Don't worry about it." Fen Lin was embarrassed to smooth things over. Lan Rao also felt a little uncomfortable inside. Why is she so crazy at the airport? "Boss, a small portion of braised chicken, 2 portions." Zhu Wang said towards the kitchen. "Okay, sit down first." The boss came out, took a look, and his eyes widened in shock. "What happened to your store today? Beautiful women come one after another." Because there were 2 outsiders present, Fen Lin and Sakam Jin's conversation tended to be more homely. After eating and drinking, Fen Lin leaned back in the chair and breathed a sigh of relief. "It's so spicy." "Honey, you guys eat here first, I'll take my friend and leave first." Fen Lin stood up, patted Zhu Wang on the shoulder, and looked with Sakam Jin. Zhu Wang didn't react at first, but then her pretty face turned red. If you call yourself a wife in front of your fiancée, you should be willing to break off your engagement with her. Thinking of this, Zhu Wang felt a little happy in her heart and did not forget to show a provocative smile at Lan Rao. Fen Lin was already gone, and Lan Rao didn't need to pretend in front of Zhu Wang. She stood up angrily. "Boss, pay." "Haha. Beauty, a total of 76 yuan." The boss walked over with a smile and rubbed his hands. 76. Zhu Wang frowned, pointed to the menu and said, "Do you think we haven't gone to school? You said clearly here, small portion 15, only 30 yuan for the 2 of us. It's 310 yuan, but just now your husband ordered 2 large portions, a total of 40, and they also have 2 bottles of Coca-Cola, a total of 6 yuan. The boss said, pointing to Fen Lin's position in this moment. PFFT. When Lan Rao heard this, she spit it out and finally understood. No wonder Fen Lin called Zhu Wang's wife because he was asking her to pay the bill. "Honey, there are 71. 6 in total, remember to pay." Lan Rao winked at Zhu Wang and ran out immediately. Damn. Zhu Wang was so angry that Fen Lin, the bastard, tricked her. After taking out the money, he walked out and sat in the passenger seat of Lan Ru's car, ready to ask him for the money for the meal just now. Lan Ru opened her mouth in shock and pointed to the public toilet in the distance. Zhu Wang looked forward, her eyes. They opened in shock and he didn't forget to rub it a few times for fear of looking bad. Fen Lin and the people around him walked out of the men's bathroom together. Zhu Wang jumped out of the car, walked towards Fen Lin, pointed at Fen Lin and said, "You guys have no shame." Fen Lin thought that Zhu Wang was talking about swindling him out of money, so he smiled and shrugged. "You took so much money from me. Are you angry after spending 100 yuan? Who said that?" "I'm talking about your friend. You guys went together. What did you do in the men's bathroom?" Zhu Wang said angrily. "Toilet. Urinate." Fen Lin suddenly startled and realized. He put his arm around Sakam Jin's shoulders. "He is a man, my brother." "Man, you are lying." Zhu Wang stared at the neck from Sakam Jin. And then stepped aside again, covering his mouth in shock. "It's not obvious from the front, but if you look closely at the side, you can see a slight bulge. Unique symbol of men, the Adam's apple. Do you believe it now?" Fen Lin moved Zhu Wang's eyebrows. "You guys go home first, I have something to do." Electric and ran to the Narcissus Club. Yi sat blankly in the passenger seat. Lan Rao pushed Zhu Wang. "What's wrong?" Zhu Wang whispered, "The one next to Fen Lin is a man." Shit. And I couldn't believe it. Fen Lin and Sakam Jin arrived at the cafe on the 7th floor together. Yishen is still wearing a black skirt and sitting here drinking coffee. Sir, now I regret cooperating with you. The Wei family came to the door before the police matter was over. Yishen complained with a smile when she saw Fen Lin enter. Suddenly, he saw Sakam Jin next to Fen Lin and was a little surprised as he couldn't tell if the other person was a man or a woman. Won't the Yi family reward you? Fen Lin smiled and sat down opposite Yishen. No, I'm separated from them. I'm alone now, so I put it all to you. Yishen took the coffee and took a sip gently. Don't worry, you made the right bet. Fen Lin pointed to Sakam Jin next to him. Give my brother a place to live and he should rest assured. Yishen nodded slightly, but he didn't do it. Don't expect it to be a man. Let's discuss the Wei family's affairs. Fen Lin motioned to Sakam Jin to sit down and see if Yishen knew the news about Jialand. And Chapter 60 Wei King regretful. Zhu Wang did not continue to follow Fen Lin and returned to Lanrao. She was relieved when she learned that the person Fen Lin was meeting was a man. Returning to her small villa, Zhu Wang thought about this morning's training. He is a person with extremely strong self-confidence, especially since he cannot lose to Lan Ru, his former rival. I started training in the yard and surpassed my physical limits. About 10 minutes later, a Porsche Cayenne parked in front of his house. Wei King got up from the passenger seat and cried anxiously, patted the fence of the villa and shouted, "You're finally back. Mom. What's wrong?" Zhu Wang walked over and opened the door. Wei King immediately ran over and grabbed Zhu Wang's arms. "Where is Fen Lin? Were you divorced?" Zhu Wang's face was a little sad. As expected, it was because of this matter again. "You care about me. I told you a long time ago, how the matter with Fen Lin has nothing to do with you. I was wrong." Shouting, "Mom knows I was wrong. Mom is blind-eyed and can't see Moutai." Wei King cried and almost knelt down. For this reason, today she made several trips. I first went to the Civil Affairs Department, but I didn't see two people and waited there for a long time. Later, he came here to look for Zhu Wang and found that she was not at home. He then went to the Civil Affairs Department, fearing that the two were already divorced. "What's wrong with you?" Zhu Wang frowned. "Daughter, my good daughter, Fen Lin is a big shot, did you know that? Fen Lin is Mr. Zhu Yuan's nephew." "What? Who did you hear that from?" Zhu Wang still doesn't know about this, and neither does Zhu Ziang Fen Lin. "It's true. The people of the Song family said so themselves. They are one of the 4 major families, so they must have better information than us." Wei King grabbed Zhu Wang's arm and pleaded, "Call Fen Lin quickly. We have already done it. I fixed it tonight. Banquet, I want to apologize." "Apologize for what? You haven't regretted it at all, you just fancy Fen Lin's identity." Zhu Wang said coldly. "No. My dear daughter, my mother definitely didn't think so. In fact, your father and I saw that you like Fen Lin." Wei King grabbed Zhu Wang's hand with a pleading look on his face. Zhu Wang said heavily. Wei King's motives aside, it was good to be able to apologize to Fen Lin. Thinking of this, he took out his mobile phone. "Fen Lin has finished speaking here. From today, the 4th child will temporarily live here. He is an orphan and has no parents. When Fen Lin was 15 years old, he was rescued from an organization. Her hair was very long at the time and Fen Lin thought she had saved the girl. Since then, he has been following Fen Lin. The second teacher told me that he has lived alone for the past 2 years and never goes out. The second teacher visited him before and his house was full of takeout boxes. In addition to eating and sleeping, he also plays, which is why he is the most leisurely. Fen Lin couldn't leave him idle, he should find something to do. Let him investigate Weianzi in the next few days and he should be able to discover something." Just as he was about to return, Fen Lin received a call from Zhu Wang. He answered the phone and asked, "What's wrong?" "Fen Lin, are you free tonight? My mother said she would like to treat you to dinner and apologize to you." Zhu Wang's voice was a little uncomfortable. She knew it too. Fen Lin hated Wang. "Piano. What tricks are you playing again?" Fen Lin felt upset when he thought of that woman. "You have to come, there is something important." Zhu Wang had no choice but to deceive Fen Lin. "Okay. You can have a break-up meal, pick me up at my house at night." Fen Lin nodded and hung up the phone. When he got home, Fen Lin saw Tang Qian holding a mobile phone and cursing inwardly. When he saw Fen Lin returning, he shouted coldly into his cell phone, "Do you think I'm afraid of you? You stinky trash. Get out." After that, he hung up the phone. What happened? Fen Lin parked the electric car and charged it. "My mother was very upset when she met a scumbag boss," Tang Qian said viciously, telling Tang Huang's experience. It turned out that when Tang Hong was working, her boss kept harassing her because he knew that she had no husband and was beautiful. Tang Hong had no choice but to resign and go home. He didn't expect that the other party would dare to call and threaten. "Where is Auntie?" Fen Lin was also a little angry and asked hurriedly. "My mother is resting, so don't disturb her." Tang Qian shook her head slightly. Fen Lin smiled and held Tang Qian's head. This girl was not old, but her character was stronger than her mother's. "Don't press my head." Tang Qian pushed Fen Lin's hand away, puffing her cheeks slightly. "Do you have a girlfriend? Don't you go home every day?" "Me? Were you jealous, little one?" Fen Lin, smiling, pinched Tang Qian's bulging cheeks. "Who was jealous?" Tang Qian's face suddenly turned red and she pinched Fen Lin's hand. "Recently, there was an executive who knew that I was good at English and was poaching me to join her company." After a while, Zhu Wang arrived and Fen Lin asked her to help find a job for Tang Hong. "This is so easy. Is the salary higher than that of a teacher?" Tang Qian seemed a little envious, but Fen Lin at this skill and his English was actually very good. "Well, then I asked him to find a decent job for Aunt. It's very simple." Fen Lin smiled and patted Tang Qian's shoulder. "Tell Aunt I'll fix the job for her." "All right." Tang Qian, I remembered one thing. My mother said that when Fen Lin returned the money to them, there was a beautiful woman next to her. Very rich. Perhaps the executive Fen Lin was talking about was her. Fen Lin returned to his room and lay down on the sofa to rest. Tang Qian followed him and bowed deeply. "Fen Lin, when I graduate and earn money, I will pay you 10 times the money I owe you." "Haha. When I just graduated, I thought the richest man in the world was trash. Do you really think it's that easy to make money?" Fen Lin stretched and thought of Zhao King they met at the party. In high school, the other party was an outstanding student, but after graduating from college, he became an ordinary person. "And then I will pay you back 5 times. Fen Lin also told Tang Qian that he had lost confidence. "What should I do if I can't pay it?" Fen Lin asked with a smile. "And it's up to you." Tang Qian immediately turned around and ran towards her house. "Haha, this girl." Fen Lin shook his head. 6:30 p.m. Zhu Wang drove to the door of Fen Lin's house, got out of the car and stood outside the door, calling out to Fen Lin. The first to come out was Tang Qian and she also wanted to see what this executive was like. He secretly glanced at Zhu Wang and his eyes fell in front of her involuntarily. She looked back at her tablet, too embarrassed to stay there. "How tall is this boy?" Fen Lin left the room and said to Tang Qian, "I won't eat tonight. Let Aunt rest assured that she will leave the work to me." After that, Fen Lin left with Zhu Wang. Fen Lin got into the car and asked, "What happened? Why did your mother invite me to dinner?" Well, you'll know when we get there." Zhu Wang smiled bitterly. Zhu family. Wai Qing and Zhu Chuan were waiting at the door. Seeing Fen Lin get out of the car, Wai Qing walked up to him with a smile on his face. "Haha. Shaolin, come in quickly, I've been waiting for you for a long time." Chapter 61 Feng Shao. Fen Lin was confused. He felt uncomfortable. Did this woman take the wrong medication today? What's wrong with you? Be normal. Fen Lin opened the other party's hand and stepped back politely. "Haha. Shaolin, please come in quickly. We have asked the chef to prepare the food. Let's go in quickly. Don't let it get cold." Wai Qing was not angry at all, still smiling. Fen Lin, led by Zhu Wang, went to the Zhu family's villa. A very sumptuous meal was placed on the dining table, with red wine in the center. Seeing this, Fen Lin decided to ask who knew what they were going to do. "Tell me. What are you doing? My time is precious and I don't have time to play with you." Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and looked at the people in front of him. Zhu Chuan and Wai Qing looked at each other and finally Wai Qing cried and said, "Fen Lin. I can't see Taishan. You don't remember the villain's faults. Please forgive us." Fen Lin pursed his lips and turned to leave. "Don't go, Mr. Feng. We really don't know. Mr. Zhuyan is your second uncle. If I knew his identity, I wouldn't dare to be disrespectful to you." Wai Qing was so scared that he quickly grabbed Fen Lin's arm, who was about to kneel. Fen Lin suddenly stopped where he was. Second uncle. He remembered what happened before, and the title second uncle was something he thought of casually. Zhuyan definitely wouldn't tell them this kind of joke. So, it's 100% Wei Yanzi. Unexpectedly, he found the Zhu family and asked about them. Fen Lin asked expressionlessly, "Who did you hear about this?" "You admitted it as expected." Wai Qing's face was filled with excitement. In terms of status, Fen Lin was higher than Song coming before him. First of all, Zhuyan is stronger than the Song family. After experiencing this incident, Wang King learned that pure money is far less important than strength. If it weren't for Zhu Yuan's expert protection, they might have died. What's more, there are 2 brothers in the Song family, and the property will definitely be divided equally in the future. But on Zhu Yuan's side, Zhu Ziyang is a woman and wants to get married. Fen Lin will definitely receive a large inheritance. Song Zhengta's wife Wei Yanzi came to us today and asked about her relationship with us. Zhu Chuan lit a flower and said from a distance with a smile. What did you say? Fen Lin asked with a frown. Zhu Chuan took a drag on the cigarette and explained. I said that you and my Zhang had an engagement when you were young, and he even asked about your personality. Young Master Feng, when she asked this question, I praised him very much. Thank you very much. Wang King hurried over to take credit. Fen Lin thought for a moment, always feeling that they were very close to him and could easily be heard. But now that Sakam Jin was by his side, he found it very easy. Protect Zhu Boying. Your grandmother, stay away from me. It looks disgusting. Fen Lin looked at Wang King next to him. Yes. Mr. Fen. Wang King nodded with a smile and quickly took a few steps back. Now that he knew what happened, Fen Lin also planned to sit down and eat. In fact, he himself didn't like such a person knowing his true identity. It's better for the Zhu family to say that it is Wang King who was disgusting, not Zhu Boying. If a certain fiancé has a similar character to Wang King, knowing Fen Lin's powerful identity, she patiently tried to please him and even pretended to be the one Fen liked. This can easily affect Fen Lin's judgment. If Fen Lin becomes a useless person in the future, this kind of woman will definitely leave without hesitation. Therefore, Fen Lin's plan is very simple. When she meets 2 other fiancés, he will act like an ordinary person. Sit down and eat. Fen Lin greeted the people next to him now. Fen Lin seemed to be the master of the Zhu family. With his permission, the 3 family members. Zhu sat down, Zhu Wang sat next to Fen Lin, while Zhu Chuan and Wang King sat opposite Fen Lin. Zhu Wang rolled her eyes and felt that it was a bit embarrassing for her mother to be like this. He picked up his chopsticks and prepared to eat. Leave it. Mr. Feng hasn't moved his chopsticks yet. Who told you to eat first? Wang King patted Zhu Ruang's hand. I'll clean myself. Zhu Ruang slammed her chopsticks on the table angrily. Eat them all. Fen Lin took the chopsticks and took a piece of meat. Young Master Fen looks so handsome while eating. Wang King flattered him. Mom. That's enough. Zhu Ruang couldn't help it. It was too embarrassing. Zhu Chuan also said helplessly. Have a good meal. Sooner or later, Fen Lin is a family. Are you treating your family like this? Yeah. Zhu Ruang also nodded and then looked at Fen Lin. I obviously have this identity. Why didn't you tell us? Same as those rich people looking for partners. None of them like their future spouse to be with them for their money. So when looking for women, most of them hide their wealth. After eating and drinking, Fen Lin stood up and stretched. This time almost everything was eating. The 3 members of the Zhu family basically haven't moved. Okay, I'm leaving. You guys are busy. Fen Lin yawned and prepared to go home and rest. Master Fen, stay here tonight and let Hao chat with you. Wang King looked at Zhu Ruang next to him. Mom. Don't worry about our affairs. Zhu Ruang grabbed Fen Lin's hand and left quickly. I'll take you back. The 2 sat in the car together, and Zhu Ruang took Fen Lin back to the village. And if I told you that Zhu Yuan is not my second uncle, how would you react? Fen Lin raised her cheek and looked at Zhu Ruang with interest. I don't care if he is your second uncle. If you dare to bully me, I will still hit you. Zhu Ruang looked at Fen Lin coldly. Fen Lin smiled and shook his head. After this period of contact, he discovered that Zhu Ruang was a very interesting person. Boom. Suddenly, the car seemed to hit something and Zhu Ruang immediately braked. Because it was too violent, even though she was wearing the seatbelt, Zhu Ruang's body still leaned forward involuntarily. He reached out to block Zhu Ruang's leaning forward. What's going on? I look like I've hit something. It was already night, and with the help of the light, Zhu Ruang found 2 people squatting in front of the car and crying. Don't move. Fen Lin opened the car door and got out of the car. I saw 2 middle-aged men gathered around a dog, which was a husky, and the ground was covered in blood. When he found Fen Lin getting out of the car, one of the middle-aged men with short hair yelled angrily, You guys have to pay for my dog. I've had my dog for 5 or 6 years, and you killed him. Zhu Ruang also noticed that the dog was lying in a pool of blood. He got out of the car and apologized. I'm sorry, I really didn't pay attention. Is an apology useful? If you don't give me 30,000 yuan today, you won't be able to leave. The middle-aged man with short hair said coldly. 30,000. Zhu Ruang felt that it was too much, but she understood the other party's mood. Anyway, he didn't miss the 30,000 yuan, so he took out his mobile phone. Idiot, they're just trying to fool people like you. Fen Lin grabbed Zhu Ruang's cell phone and walked towards the dog. Let me see your dog. Get out. You killed my dog. You still have the nerve to do it. Look at our dog. Believe it or not, I will kill you. Another man dressed in casual clothes took out a dagger from his body, pointed it at Fen Lin and cursed. This bitch is a fool, do you think I am too? Fen Lin looked at Zhu Ruang, pointed at the dog and said, the dog is already dead. Chapter 62. Drive away the scum. What? The dog was dead before. Zhu Ruang stared at the dog on the ground carefully. It was night now, and apart from the car lights, there were only faint streetlights in the distance. It is true that it is not very clear. You're telling lies. If I died before, what happened to the blood on my hand? The young man holding the dagger extended his hand, which was all red. Let me tell you what's going on with the blood. Fen Lin suddenly walked forward and took out a bottle from the short-haired middle-aged man's pocket. He opened the cap of the bottle and looked at the ground. He could still see the red liquid dripping onto the ground. This should be chicken blood. Fen Lin sniffed it and threw the bottle along the way. Zhu Ruang also understood that they were working together to deceive people. Sure enough, these people stopped wasting time and started improving their business. Brat, wait for me, don't walk at night from now on. The short-haired middle-aged man found that the matter was exposed, pointed at Fen Lin and shouted. They're just trying to steal money, they're definitely not stealing. You have to break in, but when it comes to stealing money, most of these people will consider themselves unlucky and won't care. Watching them leave, Fen Lin took 2 steps forward and stood in front of them. Who told you to leave? You tricked me and dared to threaten me before you left. Do you think I don't have a bad temper? Fen Lin's eyes became colder. The two looked at each other, feeling that something was wrong. This guy doesn't follow the rules. Generally this situation is just a harsh word before leaving. Who would provoke you when he has nothing to do? He didn't expect this kid to take it seriously. The young man raised his dagger, pointed it at Fen Lin and shouted, you bastard. Do you really think I don't dare to act? Boom. Fen Lin kicked him in the stomach and kicked him directly from the road to the end of the road. As for the short-haired middle-aged man, his legs trembled in fear when he saw this. Unexpectedly, when he met a practicing practitioner, he was so scared that he immediately turned around and ran away, shouting as he ran, brother, I was wrong. Fen Lin didn't bother chasing them anymore and patted Zhu Ruang. Get in the car. Zhu Ruang nodded and muttered sadly, I graduated with a doctorate, you're the stupid one. Fen Lin smiled bitterly, this girl is quite vindictive. By the way, do you know Aunt Tan Huang? You can find her a job tomorrow. She has no education. She seems to have graduated from high school. When Fen Lin was about to get home, he remembered what he had. Tang Qian promised. Well, Aunt Tan Huang has a pretty good image. You can let her work as a receptionist. If you are not afraid of getting tired, the company is hiring cleaning staff recently. Zhu Ruang is the head of the new company and started to cooperate with the Zhu family. In recent days, the new company is also in a state of hiring. It was easy to get a job for Tan Huang. Fen Lin asked, which one is the highest salary? If you just joined the job, the housekeeping salary will be higher, but the reception will be better for growth. If she does well, I will preferably promote her position. Zhu Ruang looked at Fen Lin and said. During this time, it seemed like Fen Lin was helping her. Whether it was an order of 300 million, either Song Keming was deceiving her or the Song family was causing trouble for the Zhu family. It was all Fen Lin who was helping. She was of no help to Fen Lin. If someone finally makes a request, they should take it seriously. Okay. Let's take the receptionist, with company. I'll take him there tomorrow morning. Fen Lin nodded and took out his phone to record it. Zhu Ruang took Fen Lin's phone, opened the notepad, and entered her company address. Be there tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Yes, Fen Lin put the phone in his pocket. Zhu Ruang did not accompany Fen Lin home, but left after dropping him off. Fen Lin found that the door was closed and apparently they thought that they would not come back tonight. Fen Lin didn't knock on the door, he looked around and found that there was no one else, so he easily jumped into the courtyard. It's after 9 o'clock at night, and the door to Tan Huang's family is locked, but the lights in the room are still on. Fen Lin did not disturb him and returned to his room to sleep well. Early the next morning, Fen Lin yawned and opened his eyes. Today's Monday, but his class is at 10:30, so he has plenty of time. Fen Lin. How did you get in? Tang Qian, who was brushing her teeth, looked at Fen Lin in surprise. Flying Fen Lin stretched and shook his body slightly. Yesterday he rested well and felt that his back hurt from sleeping. Fen Lin, are you awake? Tan Huang also walked out of the room and smiled at Fen Lin, but his face seemed a little haggard. Andy, yesterday I was with a friend looking for a job for you. It's a great company. Lin walked over with a smile. I made an appointment with him and I will be there at 9 in the morning. Hey. You do not know. The place where I worked before was also a big company. Tang Hong sighed deeply. Lin raised his eyebrows. What's your name? There are bastards like that in big companies. I'll report it when I have time. It's called Starlight Group. I heard that it is a joint venture between two big groups in Zhang City. I did it for the trick. We just passed by. Tang Hong shook her head helplessly. There was something else she didn't tell Lin. Yesterday, the manager of the Human Resources Department threatened her not to find a job in Zhang City in the future and she didn't sleep in all night. Guard of Starlight Group. Tang Qian, who was brushing his teeth, cursed. Lin scratched his head. Why did he feel that this title seemed familiar? He took out his mobile phone and took a look. Isn't this Zhu Ruan's new company? Lin immediately asked, Andy, what position are you applying for? Tang Hong smiled bitterly. I have no education, so I can only apply for housekeeping. They offer a very high salary, 4,000 a month, and there's a bonus at the end of the year. Lin nodded secretly. It should be Zhu Ruan's company. Last night I heard her say that they are recruiting workers recently and there's a shortage of personnel. Cleaning. Lin was speechless. Andy. The company I introduced to you is Starlight Group. What? Tang Hong covered his mouth in shock. Tang Qian immediately pointed at Lin with a toothbrush. Are you in the same group as that bastard? If you slander me again, your boat will swell. Lin looked at Tang Qian and then smiled at Tang Hong. He said, Don't worry, Andy, do you remember the woman who was next to me at that time? So. She was an executive of the company. The previous one, Miss Zhu. Of course, Tang Hong remembered that woman. There was a lot of money in her. At that time, she felt that they were not ordinary people. It turned out to be a company executive. Yes, your position is definitely higher than that of the human resources manager. Come with me today and I will drive the bastard away. Lin felt that he was also responsible, because Lin had negotiated this company. There must be no such garbage management. This, Tang Hong's temperament was that of a typical good old man. Mom. I'll go with you. Tang Qian looked at Lin. Teacher, I asked permission in the morning. It's your grandmother's. Lin rolled her eyes, knowing that it was teacher when she asked for permission. Finally, Lin agreed, always letting Tang Qian feel at ease. Andy, the job I found for you was reception. Please change into formal clothes. Lin looked at Tang Hong, who was wearing a very ordinary skirt with black pants underneath. He was too homely. What? Company reception. The minimum requirement for this job is a college degree. Tang Hong was a little surprised. When she chose this company, she looked at all the positions. She only qualifies for cleaning. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 63a. Multiple choice question. Lin smiled and spread his hands. That's why I said, my friend is a senior executive, let's go through the back door. Okay. I'm going to change my clothes. Tang Hong walked towards the room excitedly. Look at his face. Tang Qian looked at Lin and followed him inside. After a while, Tang Hong came out dressed in a black office uniform. She was wearing a black women's suit, a skirt tied to her hips, and her hair was curled into a bun, revealing her beautiful cheeks. In terms of figure, Tang Hong is plump, which satisfies the bulgent curvature of the back. This kind of mature woman is indeed the best in the hearts of many elderly people. Lin, at my age, wouldn't it be bad to dress like this? Tang Hong seemed a little unnatural. After searching for a long time, he only found this one. It was the uniform I was given when I worked as a waiter in an upscale restaurant. You're too old. Otherwise, I would call you sister for fear of confusing seniority, Lin said with a smile. Tang Qian has just reached adulthood. Tang Hong married early and is still less than 40 years old. In some big cities, some women of this age are still not married. You are the only one who can talk. Tang Hong smiled like a peach blossom and lowered his head to adjust his clothes. The three of them had breakfast and it was already past 8. After ordering a little, they rode an electric bicycle to the company. Tang Hong was traveling alone and Tang Qian was sitting behind Lin. In about 20 minutes they arrived at the company location. This is a high-rise building in Denri. At the top there's a huge sign, Starlight Group. Tang Qian raised his head and counted the floors here. As expected of a large company, this building is owned by others. The three people parked their electric cars in the parking lot next door. Lin took out his cell phone and took a look. It was only 8:30. She was going to call Zhu Roy and urge her. However, at this moment, a bald middle-aged man in a suit walked out of an Audi in the distance. He had a big belly and looked very greasy. He looked towards Fen Lin and walked over with a smile. Tang Hong looked at that person with an ugly face and whispered, "Fen Lin, that's him." When Tang Qian heard this, she was ready to walk over and scold him. However, Fen Lin grabbed Destiny's neck and pulled her towards him. "Haha. Zhao Tang, it seems that you have figured it out. This is a good thing," Zhao Gangti said with a smile. "Mr. Zhao, this time I have someone to introduce me to the job, so I don't need it." Fen Lin was next to him and Tang Hong felt a little more confident when he spoke. "You don't need me. I'm from the Human Resources Department. I'm in charge of hiring and firing. Without my consent, who would dare to use you?" Zhao Gangti shook his head slightly. "I just don't understand it. Aren't the conditions I gave you high? Go anima. Trash." Although Tang Qian was restrained by Fen Lin, she was still able to speak and curse at Zhao Gangti. "What does this little girl know? I'm willing to give him an extra 3,000 a month to keep me company. Isn't this a good thing?" When Zhao Gang said this, he smiled, not to mention her man after death, the widow will always have needs. What the hell? When Tang Qian heard her mother being so insulted, he couldn't help it anymore and tried to break free. However, Fen Lin immediately kicked out and kicked Zhao Gang to the ground. "Keep your mouth clean. You bastard, you dared to hit me." At Fen Lin and shouted, "Boy, you're dead. Believe it or not, I'll make you lose your job with just one word." "Who are you scaring?" Fen Lin was talking. The security guard who was in the distance noticed what was going on here and walked quickly. "Runs over here. Security. Stop them, don't let them go." Zhao Gangtong, with his fat body, finally stood up from the ground. He took out his cell phone and looked at Fen Lin coldly. "Tell me if you can. Where do you work?" "I am a professor at Jiangxi University. I want to see how you made me lose my job." Fen Lin looked at him with interest. His job was appointed by Lan Rao herself. He didn't believe that the other party could call a dean. "Haha. A university professor, right? Maybe you don't know who I am." Zhao Gangtong took out his mobile phone and made a call. To highlight his confidence, he also pressed the hands-free button. After several busy signals, the voice of a middle-aged man came from the other side. "Mr. Zhao, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you later." "Okay, director." After Zhao Gang said that, he hung up the phone and called Fen Lin on his mobile phone. "I took a photo, wait for me." When Tang Hong and Tang Qian saw this, their faces turned pale at the same time. This person really knows the big shot in the school. Just now he called him principal. Tang Qian knew that Fen Lin was just an ordinary teacher in the school. If Fen Lin loses her job because of her family matters, she really doesn't know how to face Fen Lin. Tang Hong had the same idea. She knows very well that in today's society, finding a good job is not an easy task. "Are you, Fen Lin?" At this moment, a familiar voice came from a distance. Fen Lin thought Zhu Royan was come in, but he turned around and saw that it was Qian Jing. That is, his classmate and Godong's girlfriend. "Why are you here?" Fen Lin asked strangely. "I work here and I came here 2 days ago." Qian Jingshan was wearing an office uniform. After getting closer, he saw Zhao Gangtong here. The few security guards just blocked him and didn't notice. Qian Jing immediately asked with a smile, "Mr. Zhao, why are you here?" "Qian Jing, do you know this guy?" Zhao Gangti asked, pointing at Fen Lin. "I know, she is my boyfriend's classmate," Qian Jing was saying, and suddenly noticed that Zhao Gang's expression was wrong and asked tremblingly, "Mr. Zhao, what's wrong? What's wrong? This kid dares to fight me." Zhao Gangtong scolded. "What? Fen Lin, you are so presumptuous. You dare to hit Mr. Zhao. Don't you want to hang out in Zhang City anymore?" Qian Jing won't let this opportunity slip away. Zhao Gang is the personnel manager of this company. This is a very popular department and Qian Jing also works in this department. In the future, when the company grows, I don't know how many people will squeeze their heads to come in and even stop the products. As long as Qian Jing manages their relationship with Mr. Zhao, he will also be able to attract people in the future. As for pure benefits, I don't know how much money I can make. You make it seem like Zhang City belongs to him. I can't live here anymore if I offend him. Fen Lin had long disliked this Qian Jing, a wallflower and a snobbery. That's right. I don't know how to deal with others. If he can't succeed, Mr. Zhao will definitely be able to do it. Qian Jin also knew that Fen Lin knew those gangsters, but the gangsters couldn't. After all, I won't go on stage. Zhao Gang is a member of the Zhu Group, which has assets of more than 1 billion. This time the Zhu Group cooperated with the Zhu family. Zhao Gang was transferred here as the manager of the Human Resources Department. To put it bluntly, Zhao Gang belongs to the upper class of Zhang City. This multiple-choice question is not difficult for Qian Jin. Fen Lin. Don't think you are invincible just because you are protected by a lover. Have you heard of the Zhu family? This company is funded by the Zhu family. Qian Jin crossed his arms, his words and expressions full of disdain. Fen Lin almost laughed out loud, looked at his phone, and was already looking forward to her meeting this lover. P.S. I've been busy celebrating the new year. New recently, so I still take time to code. Brothers, please support me in my hard work. Chapter 64. You were fired. Oh. What's going on? Tell me and make me happy. Zhao Gangle narrowed his eyes with a smile and simply asked the principal to dismiss the teacher. It will definitely cost a fortune. However, if you know about Feng Lin's black spots and tell the director about it, maybe you can treat him to a meal and the matter can be resolved. He's being held by a mistress. Qian Jin pointed at Feng Lin and became more and more outrageous. What? Being cheated on by a mistress? Zhao Gangtong showed a disdainful smile. This is very funny. This is equivalent to him taking care of Tang Hong and then Tang Hong taking care of Fen Lin. That's right. That mistress was kept by a company executive. She looked like a slut in drove a Mercedes-Benz, but she had a good relationship with Fen Lin. Qian Jin crossed her arms and looked at Fen Lin coldly. Haha. Boy, don't you realize? How dare you pretend to be a loser in front of me, being held back by a mistress? Zhao Gangle sneered a few times. Tang Hong and Tang Qian also looked at Fen Lin in shock. Qian Jin looked at Fen Lin with an indifferent expression. Don't blame me for exposing you. Who dared you to attack Mr. Zhao? Mr. Zhao has been kind to me. That's it. Qian Jin, in the future in the personnel department, do a good job. Performance. Zhao Gangtian nodded in satisfaction and looked at Fen Lin mockingly. As a teacher, you have been betrayed by the mistress. I don't see how you still have the nerve to stay at school. Tang Hong's face became paler and paler, and he grabbed hold Fen Lin's hand and prepared to take him away. Although I don't agree with Fen Lin's approach, but they treat me very well. Tang Hong is a person who knows how to return kindness. At this moment, a Mercedes-Benz S-Class parked in the distance. As soon as Zhu Ruan got out of the car, she saw Fen Lin in the distance. He took out his phone and took a look. It was only around 8:40, but he didn't expect Fen Lin and the others to arrive early. Fen Lin. Sorry. I'm late, Zhu Ruan greeted from a distance and quickly walked here. Ha ha ha. Fen Lin, you're very lucky. Just when you said you would support your lover, she arrived. Qian Jin saw Zhu Ruan in the distance and laughed disdainfully. Tang Hong and Tang Qian looked together again, and it turned out that this woman was the kept mistress. Tang Hong nodded secretly. This is normal, no wonder he had so much money in his hand. Fen Lin said in the morning that the other party was a senior executive in the company and was obviously afraid of being embarrassed and league to them. In fact, Zhu Ruan is the mistress raised by the executive of this company. Tang Qian pursed her lips slightly, looked in front of Zhu Ruan, and muttered, TSK. It must be fake. Hello, madam, are you here to find Fen Lin again? Qian Jin continued to sneer, not forgetting to face Qian Jin. Lipidan was so scared that he slapped Qian Jin and cursed angrily. Sam Nimga. Get out of here. This slap knocked Qian Jin unconscious. She covered her face and asked aggrievedly, Mr. Zhao, this person is the mistress who supports Fen Lin. Madam. Zhu Ruan stared at Qian Jin, her face full of disgust. Although Fen Lin has bullied her, she is very ruthless in business no matter how old an employee is. As long as the bottom line is touched, she will fire him without hesitation. I have nothing to do with her. Zhao Gangtan was so scared that he knelt down and kept going to Zhu Ruan. Her current status was because of the Zhu family. Miss. Qian Jin has only been here for 2 days, and these 2 days it's Saturday and Sunday. Zhu Ruan has been working from home for the past 2 days and hasn't returned to the company. So it's natural that Qian Jin doesn't know Zhu Ruan. You failed your internship period and were fired, Zhao Gang said coldly. Do you know who this is? This is the president of Starlight Group, shareholder of Zhu Group, and president of Zhu Group. My daughter. What? Qian Jin was so scared that her mind went blank. She took a few steps back and sat directly on the ground. How can it be? Didn't Fen Lin say she was a mistress? But how could someone like Zhao Gang lie to him on such an occasion? Tang Hong and Tang Qian were also stunned with fear. This is not a senior executive, he is clearly the boss of Starlight Group. Tang Qian was afraid that others would hear what she had just muttered, so she whispered, "It's true. This must be true." Fen Lin. What happened? Zhu Wang asked strangely. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and recounted everything that just happened. After hearing this, Zhu Wang's face turned dark. She is a woman and what he hates the most is this kind of man, especially after having experienced a scumbag like Song Keming. Zhao Gangtong, are you resigning on your own or am I taking the initiative to dismiss you? Existed for many years. You should know that if the company voluntarily fires you, you will be given damages. Zhao Gangtong lowered his head and didn't care at all. Dare to speak. He originally followed the Zhu family, not to mention that now that the Zhu family is attached to the Zhu family, it will only get stronger and stronger. Let me tell you, I can give you damages, but I will sue you, Zhu Wang continued. Zhao Gangtong was so scared that he knelt on the ground and said, "Miss, I will resign on my own. I will resign on my own. If he is prosecuted, he will no longer be able to find work in the future. Since you are a former employee, I will not argue with you." Zhu Wang pointed at Qian Jing again and looked at the security guard next to her. "Throw her out, Feng Lin. You cheated on me." "You didn't. Don't you say she's a mistress." Obviously you were the one who said it. Qian Jing was dragged away by security while screaming. He regretted it so much that he wished he could beat himself to death on the head. Under the leadership of Zhu Wang, several people boarded the elevator together. Zhu Wang pressed the 25th floor. Tang Hong and Tang Qian did not dare to say a word. Fen Lin smiled and touched Zhu Wang's arm. But Zhu Wang pushed Fen Lin hard, took out her mobile phone, and sent Fen Lin a WeChat chat message. Fen Lin looked down. "I'll have a good chat with you about the mistress's affairs." There were also a series of explosive emoticons behind it. Doorbell. With a crisp sound, the elevator reached the top floor. Zhu Wang took out the key and opened the door with a seal sign. Inside there was a huge office, decorated in a very simple way, as well as black tables, chairs and sofas. The other colors here are almost all white. "Please take a seat." Zhu Wang smiled slightly at Tang Hong and Tang Qian. "Well, we don't have to." Tang Hong was very reserved. Under normal circumstances, a low-level employee like her was not qualified to speak to the president. "Andy, you're welcome. This is my childhood love. We grew up together in the village." Fen Lin put his arm around Zhu Wang's shoulders. However, Zhu Wang pushed Fen Lin again, and Tang, I will arrange for the deputy director of the Human Resources Department to pick you up immediately. Your position is reception. Okay, I will definitely work hard. Tang Hong nodded enthusiastically. Let's start with ugly words. I value people. If you have a bad attitude towards work or have bad habits, you will still be fired. When Zhu Wang spoke, he had already sent a message to the vice principal. I know. Tang Hong looked at Fen Lin. This was completely a favor on his part. You must not embarrass Fen Lin. Tang Qian also secretly looked at the two of them and found that their relationship did not seem to be good. She didn't know what was going on, but she was very relieved when she saw that Fen Lin and Zhu Wang had a bad relationship. Chapter 65. Just do what you say. After a while, a middle-aged woman came to the office and said, President, this is Tang Huang. She works as a receptionist. Go and help her with the admission formalities. There is no need for an internship period, and she will be a full-time employee. Zhu Wang pointed at Tang Rainbow and ordered. The middle-aged woman looked at Tang Hong and said in her heart, this woman is not simple. It seems that from now on we need to be around a few. After a brief chat, Tang Hong and Tang Qian were taken away. Fen Lin and Zhu Wang are the only two people left in this office. Fen Lin, tell me, everyone is gone. If you don't explain it to me clearly, I'm not done with you. Zhu Wang locked the door and looked at Fen Lin coldly. Oh. I get angry when I talk about this. After that party, I ran into Qian Jing again and she said she saw you driving a Mercedes-Benz. Fen Lin looked angry. She said you had a rich man's mistress. Then what do you say? Zhu Wang's face relaxed a little, which is normal. When she and Fen Lin went together, they were riding an electric bicycle. It was a completely normal family, but after a few days, she driving a Mercedes-Benz and would definitely have random thoughts. I was furious at that moment. I said that in addition to working, my girlfriend also works as a driver to help support the family. She is a very beautiful and kind-hearted person. Yes, that's true. Zhu Wang nodded and admitted shamelessly. But she obviously didn't believe it. He thought you were the lover, but he didn't say it so clearly. Fen Lin blamed Qian Jing. Anyway, he didn't like her anymore. Damn, Zhu Wang cursed secretly, but she understood. She said to Feng Lin, "Don't worry about Tang Huang's affairs. Leave it to me." "Okay, I'll go back first." Feng Lin nodded and took the elevator out. When he arrived at the lobby on the first floor, he found Tang Qian waiting for him here. "Where is your mother?" Feng Lin walked over and asked, "Going to sign a contract? He asked us to leave first." Tang Qian raised his face and said. Feng Lin nodded and gave Tang Qian the key to his electric car. "Take me to school." After saying that, he took out his mobile phone and looked at the phone. It was Godong's mobile phone number. No need to think about it to know what he is doing. Feng Lin sat behind the electric car and answered the phone. "Hello? Feng Lin. This is Godong. She already told me about my girlfriend a moment ago. I apologize to you." Godong's voice was very nervous. He really didn't expect that the mistress Feng Lin mentioned before was the president of a large company. "It's okay, it has nothing to do with you." Feng Lin thought that Godong was a very good person. "When do you have time? Let's have dinner together and I'll apologize to you." Godong was afraid that Feng Lin would hold a grudge against him, so he invited him there. "No, there's no use inviting me to dinner. The main reason is that your girlfriend offended the president, and I can't say anything." "Isn't that president your girlfriend?" "You're thinking too much that there's someone who doesn't like to chase her. I'm just a shield. If you have anything else to do, hang up first." After saying this, Feng Lin hung up the phone and put it in his pocket. Tang Qian looked in the rearview mirror and saw Feng Lin taking his phone, and then asked calmly, "She must be your girlfriend, right?" "No." Feng Lin shook his head. "TCH." Tang Qian murmured. Back to school, Tang Qian returned to class first. Feng Lin slowly walked around the school. He also attended classes for a few days, but he didn't have his own office. Sitting on a bench in the schoolyard, Feng Lin crossed his legs and looked at the men and women exercising in the distance. Shortly after, he saw the students from his class arriving at the playground. I took out my phone and looked at the class schedule. It turned out that this class was physical education in his class. Feng Lin's class was taught together with class 5 due to its small number of students. After a simple 1,000-meter jog, the teacher said goodbye and allowed everyone to move freely. "Teacher." Bai Nuan walked over with a smile. After experiencing what happened last time, he was very curious about Feng Lin. How could such a person become a teacher? "Who are you?" "In fact, you hit my brother so hard that he had no room to defend himself." Feng Lin looked at Bai Nuan in front of him and shook his head with a smile. "You have only been a soldier for a few years. Hey. Go find Sister Yi." "What did you do?" Bai Nuan took the initiative to sit next to Feng Lin. She had only met that mysterious senior sister once or twice, but had never spoken to her. "I went to reason with her. Your younger brother bullied my friend." Feng Lin made up a random reason. In the distance, Tang Qian and Gu Dudu were sitting together, but they glanced at Feng Lin from time to time. When would a person like Bai Nuan, who often was skipping class and surfing the internet, did he have such a good relationship with Feng Lin? Suddenly, a basketball hit Feng Lin and was caught by Feng Lin. He raised his head and looked at the big man wearing a t-shirt in the distance, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. He did it on purpose. "Hey." The pilot greeted Feng Lin. Feng Lin grabbed the basketball and used a little force. The ball came out hard. Plane didn't pay attention at first. When he caught the basketball, it was too late. His body retreated uncontrollably, and after a few steps, he sat on the ground with a plop. "Brother Gwyn, why are you so weak?" "I think Brother Gwyn did it on purpose, to attract girls' attention." Wang Wen heard the sneers of several people around him. His eyes were cold, and his face was a little uncomfortable. He kicked the basketball with all his strength, walked over and pointed at Feng Lin. "Are you crazy? This is our counselor." Bai Nuan stood up and shouted. Feng Lin was thoughtful and seemed to know the reason why this boy hit him. "What's wrong with the counselor? Can the counselor maliciously hit me with a basketball?" Wang Wen raised his fingers at Feng Lin. "If you're a man, let's compete. He is our English teacher, why should he compete with you?" Bai Nuan grabbed Feng Lin's arm and refused to let him go. If it were a one-on-one fight, Feng Lin would treat it as a joke. After all, Feng Lin could defeat her brother. But in basketball, Feng Lin is definitely not as good as Wang Wen. Wang Wen went to the same high school as her and his studies were very bad. He relied on his basketball skills to make an exception and entered the college's physical education major. The people of the Municipal Sports Bureau are also interested in Wang Wen's abilities. The future is bright, and many teachers in the school take good care of him. "Are you afraid now? Where did the energy go to hit me with a basketball?" Wang Wen pursed his lips. "If you don't dare, excuse me." It's not that I don't dare, it's it won't do me any good to compete with you. Fen Lin Wang looking at the students who were looking around, he said with a smile. If I beat you, others say that my teacher bullies the students. If I lose, others say I'm not even as good as a student. You win. Do you know who I am? Who can win in the entire school? Me. Wang Wen crossed his arms with a look of disdain. If you can beat me, I will give you my head. Master, stop pretending, I'm very good at it. The municipal sports office especially invites me to all competitions. Zhang Yashin walked over and said, originally he and Fen Lin had no grudges. At first it was just to flatter Song Fan, but now that Song Fan is gone, there is no need for him to mess with Fen Lin. Forget it, give me the money. Fen Lin looked at Tang Qian who was approaching and said with a smile, I won, give me 5,000 yuan as a scholarship for our class. Tang Qian looked at him deeply. At Fen Lin, he lowered his head in shame. Obviously, Fen Lin was giving him money. Since he entered school, he ranked first in that class in all the exams. Wang Wen agreed without thinking. Could lose anyway, okay. I promise, what will happen if you lose? Fen Lin smiled and spread his hands, if I lose, I'll do whatever you say. Chapter 66 Too fierce. The students looking around exclaimed. Fen Lin is actually a newborn calf who was not afraid of tigers. Maybe he is a new master and has no idea how powerful he is. If you lose, at 12 o'clock noon, crawl from here to the school gate. Wang Wen's purpose is to embarrass Fen Lin. No wonder he has been messaging Bai Nuan these days. The reason why not the answer must be because of this cute boy. Teacher Fen, I don't agree. Tang Qian walked over, shook his head at Fen Lin, and whispered in her ear, I'll take your car home this afternoon. I don't want to feel embarrassed. Guduodo stood nearby with no expression. He had seen Fen Lin's physical condition last time and he should be able to compete with Wang Wen. Okay. I agree. I will never embarrass the girls in our class. Fen Lin winked at Tang Qian and walked onto the court. Tang Qian sighed helplessly. An English teacher really thought he was a physical education teacher. But even a physical education teacher is far inferior to Wang Wen. The competition between the two instantly attracted the attention of many students. Even some physical education teachers who were chatting in the distance came to watch the fun. In just a minute, the basketball court was surrounded by students, with only Fen Lin and Wang Wen standing in the middle. This teacher is so handsome. He must be new here. I have never seen him before. What's the point of being handsome? He could quit tomorrow and soon he'll be embarrassed. Many students around were talking about it. Wang Wen's abilities are obvious to everyone. In previous school competitions, he was completely uninhabited. Almost no one can defend him. It's like he's in the king-level bronze game. 20 points, whoever reaches 20 points first wins. Wang Wen patted the basketball and said to Fen Lin. Okay, let's start with you. Fen Lin signaled to Wang Wen that he could start. Wang Wen was not polite and just wanted to show it off in front of these people today. Then start. Wang Wen suddenly bowed, turned around, and quickly walked past Fen Lin who jumped high. Boom. A strong blow, a maid. Brother Gwen is domineering. Several people who were on the school team like Wang Wen cheered. Besides them, many female students also cheered. People like Wang Wen are a very powerful stock and will almost certainly make money. If he can enter the national team, I don't know how much his value will increase. If you marry him, even if Wang Wen is a bank player of the country, the money he earns will not be comparable to that of ordinary people. Wang Wen threw the ball to Fen Lin and mocked him. It's your turn. After saying that, he made defensive movements. Fen Lin patted lightly, adjusting to the weight of the basketball. It had been many years since he had touched a basketball. Suddenly, Fen Lin jumped high and made a standard shot directly from the midline. The surrounding students were shocked to see this. Tang Qian clenched her fists involuntarily, with a smile on her face. No wonder Fen Lin was so confident that he turned out to be a master. Bai Nuan also smiled. It seemed like she was worrying too much. Wang Wen looked at him in disbelief. Everyone stared at the arc of the basketball, and finally the ball fell to the ground. What followed was ridiculous laughter. Ha ha ha. I'm laughing so hard that you don't touch the three of us. Your confident expression made me mistakenly think you were a king, but you turned out to be a rookie. Tang Qian covered her helplessly. Face, she was about to embarrass herself. Bai Nuan also sighed heavily. He had told her not to agree, but she just didn't listen. Wang Wen took out the ball with a smile. Ha ha, it's my turn. He patted it twice, suddenly faked an attack, and stood at the three-point line to shoot. Boom. Enter again. Everyone applauded. This is a triple. Only Fen Lin took the basketball with a calm expression and patted it gently, feeling that the weight had almost gotten used to it. Fen Lin didn't even look at the frame that threw the ball from the center line. Shit. Do you know how to play? If you don't want to play, just give up. That's right, don't waste your time. Some of the students watching couldn't stand it anymore. The teacher had no intention of playing. There was no way to throw the ball directly from the center line. Wang Wen also raised the corners of his mouth, but this time he didn't look back. Boom. Oh no. The ball went in. Zhang Yaoshan pointed to the basket and said excitedly. The students in Fen Lin's class also exclaimed, "Can they really be included?" But the faces of people from other classes didn't change much, it was just a matter of luck. Everyone has done this before. Wang Wen's expression did not change at all, which was very normal, especially for a sports student like him. He started dribbling again and decided to dunk. After all, he looked more handsome and enjoyed the women who cheered him up. With a false move, he dodged Fen Lin and jumped high, his mouth full of confidence. But suddenly, his eyes opened and Fen Lin appeared in front of him without knowing when. And the height of his jump was much higher than him. Broken. Fen Lin hit the basketball and White Yuan fell to the ground. The originally rowdy audience was stunned upon seeing this. That jumping ability now. The physical education teacher who was chatting in the distance was surprised. Fen Lin is 1.85 meters tall, which is considered tall among ordinary people. But among basketball students, it is not so high. He jumped so high just now that his head could touch the basket. Come again. Wang Wen stood up from the ground and roared. Being blocked was an insult. This time he wanted to return it to Fen Lin. Fen Lin took the basketball, patted it, and threw it again. This time I can't say I threw a ball, it was just a random throw. Boom. The ball went in. Everyone looking around rubbed their eyes, and many people took out their mobile phones and started recording. Wang Wen took a deep breath and tried to regain his composure. Just as he was about to attack, Fen Lin appeared next to him and easily intercepted the ball. Wang Wen didn't even know what happened. The third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, and after Fen Lin failed to loan the first time, the rest were in the middle, all inside. Shit. Isn't it? The NBA wouldn't dare to play like that. I doubt there are cameras around. This is video footage. The people around didn't know what to say. Once or twice lucky. The key is to always enter. As for the people in Fen Lin's class, they were also surprised that they spoke, this was too violent. With this technology you can teach English. Fen Lin seemed very calm, that's why he doesn't play basketball. Not only him, but also the slightly stronger ancient warriors did not play. Because it's too simple. These people control their strength very precisely. Just like Du King used steel nails, he hit them wherever he pointed. The same goes for basketball, as long as you are familiar with the weight, you can take a shot with your eyes closed. 3-7-21, Fen Lin scored a total of 7 3-pointers and won the game. Wang Wen lay on the ground and began to doubt his life. Zhang Yaoshan, I leave that 5,000 yuan matter to you. Fen Lin looked at Zhang Yaoshan next to him, turned around and left. When he left, the two physical education teachers realized what he was doing and immediately called the dean. If the school can have a world-famous star like they now, it will be a great success. The dean can laugh out loud. After physical education class, all the students returned to class. Now the way they looked at Fen Lin changed. Fen Lin was about to say something when he discovered that Lan had sent him a text message. After looking at it, he frowned slightly, got up and walked to Tang Qian, handing her the key of the electric car. You can ride home in the afternoon and study by yourself in English class. After saying that, Fen Lin left the school and took a taxi, heading towards the Lan family. Today, a distinguished guest came to the Lan family. Chapter 67 I saw you in my dream. Fen Lin took a taxi and arrived at the door of Lang's house. The guards here had long known Fen Lin and did not stop him. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked in with a smile. From a distance, he saw Lanny and a middle-aged man sitting opposite each other at the table. This middle-aged man has a little white hair on his head and some wrinkles at the corners of his mouth, and he looks a bit like Fen Lin. He has several days of stubble on his chin and is wearing an unbuttoned black suit, which makes him look very unkempt. He held a cigarette in his hand and turned with a smile. Boy, are you back? You're not going to play mahjong with the village old ladies at home. Why are you interested in coming to Jiang City? Fen Lin walked over with a smile. This person was none other than Fen Lin's father. Seals out dust. I have something to do. I was passing through Jiang City, so I came to Master Lan's house to sit down. Fen Chen smiled at Fen Lin. Lanny also laughed out loud. Why did you ask me to come this time? Fen Lin looked at Lanny. I already know that you called Sakam Jin here. The superiors trust you very much and ask me to fully cooperate with you no matter what you do. Lan, I didn't know it at first, but yesterday Lan Rao said that Fen Lin had someone a gay friend who was more beautiful than any woman. Without thinking, I knew it was Sukam Jin. Fen Lin did not hide it, he explained. I found traces of Jiaworth. Don't tell me if you need cooperation. Lanny had an old fox smile on his face. Fen Lin rolled his eyes and clearly asked him to investigate. Fen Chen took out his cell phone and looked at the time. He put out the half-smoked cigarette and put it in his cigarette case. Mr. Lan, we have some private matters. Let's go first. Okay. Remember our marriage. Lan nodded and stood up with a smile. Don't worry. You don't need to set it. Fen Chen waved his hand, put his arm around Fen Lin's shoulders and walked out. Outside Lan's house, there was a Phoenix bicycle park. Fen Chen pushed the cart and left with Fen Lin. Old man, did you go out on a bicycle? Fen Lin rolled his eyes. He really had time to travel from the Central Plains to Jiangbai. It's your grandmother's. I'm still looking for problems with you. Did you tell Duzalin where I live? Seeing Fen Lin's confused look, Fen Chen explained, she is Du Qingyu's mother. Fen Lin nodded, yes, that woman dares to threaten me with you, I cannot stand. You don't know anything. That woman is in love with me. If you tell her your address, what should I do if she comes to see me at home? Fen Chen rolled his eyes helplessly. Haha. You're not going to play Duan Zhenchun's game, are you? Finally, tell me, my fiancée is my sister. Fen Lin pursed his lips, obviously not believing his father's words. Don't talk nonsense, I only have one woman, your mother. Fen Chen got on his bike and moved forward slowly. I'm going out for a while. Fen Lin followed Fen Chen and reminded him. I said it first, don't get me some fiancé when I come back. How can a fiancé be so casual? It must match your date of birth and horoscope. There is only one in a million, and it is rare to find one. Fen Chen waved his hand at Fen Lin, let's go. Fen Lin looked at Fen Chen's back, smiled and shook his head. Growing up, the only man he looked up to was his father. It may seem frivolous, but it taught him many life lessons. Fen Chen was riding a bicycle without holding onto the handlebars. He took the unfinished cigarette out of the cigarette case in his pocket and lit it with a lighter. He took out his mobile phone again, dialed a number, and then grabbed the handlebars with one hand. Hey, I said hello to my son. Fen Chen hung up the phone after saying this while holding a cigarette in his mouth. Not long after, his eyes suddenly lit up and he parked his bike in front of a woman with two tails. This person is none other than Guduatu. Since there were no classes on Monday afternoon, the last hour of English in the morning became independent study. There weren't many people in the class to begin with, so basically everyone was gone. Guduatu suggested that they go shopping with Tang Qian. Beauty, do you have a boyfriend? Fen Chen took out a notebook from the inside pocket of his jacket and looked at Guduatu. What are you doing? Guduatu frowned and asked cautiously. Although she had also encountered guys chatting with her, this was the first time a guy had ridden a bike. It's exactly the same as in my dream, Fen Chen sighed. Yesterday I dreamed that my son was getting married and his wife was you. Guduatu roared, like an angry little lion. She has the same personality as my daughter-in-law. Can you tell her your name and contact information? Fen Chen took out the black pen from his notebook and asked with a smile. Do. What's wrong? At this time, Tang Qian parked the electric car in the distance and hurriedly walked over. Fen Chen looked at Tang Qian and exclaimed, you look familiar. I have seen you in my dream, you and my son, Fen Chen, uncle. Tang Qian suddenly pointed at Fen Chen's face. Fen Chen's face was surprised. The more he looked at it, the more familiar it seemed. I wasn't making it up this time. He seemed to have actually seen it somewhere. Oh. You're Qian. No wonder Fen Chen has forgotten that Fen Lin went to high school here, and it has been 6 or 7 years. I remember that Tang Qian was still a child at that time. What are you doing? Tang Qian asked. Come with me first. Fen Chen took Tang Qian a few steps away and asked in a low voice, what's that girl's name? Call me and tell me. His notebook was full of names and contact information. It took me several pages to find a blank space. His name is Guduatu, from the Gu family in Zhang City. Tang Qian didn't know what Fen Chen wanted to do, so he responded casually. Okay. Fen Chen wrote it with a pen, took out a black card from his body, walked over and handed it to Guduatu. If one day a family member falls ill and can't be cured, call me. With it said, Fen Chen took back his notebook and left on his bicycle. Qian. Who was he? Guduatu looked at the card. There was no name on it, just a mobile phone number. If Tang Qian didn't know him, he could have thrown it away on the spot. He is Fen Lin's father. That old man is very dishonest. What did he just say to you? Tang Qian asked. Gu Duo's face turned red and he was embarrassed to say it. Okay. Alright. Came a familiar voice. The two turned around at the same time and found Fen Lin getting out of the taxi and walking in that direction. School isn't over yet, right? TCH. You, the master, have escaped, why not? Don't let us go. Gu Duo taking Tang Qian's hand, he walked towards the mall. Fen Lin followed him. He needed to supervise Tang Qian. Their consumption concepts were different. Don't let Tang Qian develop bad habits. As is expected, Gu Duo carried Tang Qian and headed to the luxury store in the mall. Fen Lin stepped forward and grabbed Tang Qian's shoulders. We won't buy anything from here. Tang Qian said with a smile. However, their conversation was overheard by the shopping guide here. The employees who were originally going to come to serve also stopped and played with their mobile phones. What bothers them most is when they meet people like this who can't afford it and come here to ask a lot of questions. Very few people are even more hateful and just pretend to be in comparison. For example, if you carry a brand name bag with its brand name deliberately covered, you can carry it on your back while someone take photos with him. Then they upload it to Moments. Gu Duo held a black LV bag and asked, "Hey, are there other colors for this bag?" "Those 38,000, leave them first if you don't want to buy it. Also, we don't allow photography here." A store employee who was playing with her mobile phone in the distance walked over reluctantly. "Who took the photo? What is your attitude?" Gu Duo couldn't bear this anger. Chapter 68 worth 99,000. Sorry. I'm just a friendly reminder. The employee showed a slight smile, but this smile was fake and even had a hint of mockery. Do you really think I can't afford these bags? Gu Duo was very angry. He finally went shopping with Tang Qian today, but he encountered this kind of thing. The employee said angrily, "No, I think you can afford it and cover everything." "Alright." Fen Lin patted Gu Duo on the shoulder. "She is just stimulating you and making you we won't be fooled into buying bags here." Haha. This gentleman has very high emotional intelligence. The female employee smiled at Fen Lin. Fen Lin frowned slightly. He had already taken a step down to both parties, but she raised her nose and raised her face. Commenting on other people's emotional intelligence, isn't that to show that your emotional intelligence is higher? Gu Duo took out his mobile phone. When had she ever been wronged like this? Fen Lin, don't stop me, I will report her. Fen Lin did not speak. In fact, there was something wrong with this woman's attitude. Here, this is our manager's phone number. I'll tell you the number. The employee in front of her opened the contacts on her mobile phone and proudly said to Gu Duo, "Look carefully, it's my brother's note." Father-in-law. Gu Duo was angry. Both ponytails were about to jump out. "I'll complain directly to this mall." "Okay. In the worst case, I will resign first and continue to come here in a few days. Do you have any ideas?" The employee shrugged her shoulders dismissively. "There are some things I really don't want to say. I'm afraid of damaging your self-esteem." "Tell me, we can bear it." Fen Lin had silently turned on his cell phone to record. "Okay. This is what you said, so I'll tell you. I wonder where you got the courage from. Can you afford this kind of luxury items?" The clerk shook her head slightly and continued, "You're just low-class people, you know. Even if you really carry an LV bag, others will say it's a copycat. Inferior person. Who are you? Why are you here?" Fen Lin stood in the middle and hugged Gu Duo and Tang, respectively, Qian's shoulders. "I am self-aware. I am not a superior person, but at least I am a little more advanced than you." The employee smiled slightly. Tang Qian gritted her teeth. She was very angry, but she knew that this was not the place to get angry. It's easy to get into trouble. Fen Lin. At this moment, behind Fen Lin, a man in a suit walked up. Fen Lin turned around and looked at the person with permed hair in front of him. It was Lin. He used to be the monitor of my high school class and I just met him. However, next to Lin was a rather pretty woman with short hair. But it is not Zhao King. The female employee, who originally had a condescending expression, suddenly turned pale when she saw Lin. "Master Li. This is, your friend." "That's how it is." Lin walked over with a smile and looked at Fen Lin. The two girls pursed their lips meaningfully. "Don't you see? Squad leader, don't think too much, these are my two sisters." Fen Lin said this and looked at the beautiful woman next to him. "Where? Is it Zhao King? I broke up with her." Lin had a smile on his face, but he hated her in his heart. After talking to Shocking King for half a year, he ran away before he had it in his mouth. He once thought what happened to them. You the manager here? We are here to buy things and this employee looks down on us. Gudu pointed to the woman next to him. The employee next to him was pale as a sheet. Lilei was the son of the mall owner, a second-generation rich man. I didn't expect the man in front of me to know such an important fish. What's wrong with you? How dare you look down on my classmate? Lilei's face turned cold. He pointed at the clerk and shouted, I don't think you want to open your store, right? Teacher Lee, spare his life. I'm sorry, sir, I was wrong. The shop assistant was so scared that she knelt down. This store belonged to her brother-in-law. If it was because of her, the store would be closed. She could be beaten to death. Follow me and call your boss immediately. Lilei pointed to the employee and entered the store. The female employee nodded quickly and came to the small room at the back of the store. She was trembling as she spoke. Mr. Lee, I really know I was wrong. Otherwise, I will stay with you all night and apologize. Stay with me for this matter in the future. Besides, I need you to do something now. Lilei looked at Fen Lin in the distance, his eyes gradually becoming colder. Fen Lin was a little surprised here. When did his relationship with Lilei become so good? Tang Qian touched Fen Lin lightly and asked with a smile, do you have many friends? Don't say that, they are not friends. Fen Lin took the initiative to bring Tang Qian and Gudu there. I was going to get out of here. Anyway, the matter is over and everyone knelt down to apologize, so I can't kill her. Haha. Fen Lin, I have already called the boss here. I will definitely punish her. Lilei walked over and patted Fen Lin on the shoulder. Fen Lin smiled and shook his head. There's no need to punish, it's no big deal in the first place. We are old classmates. If I were me, I definitely won't let them hurt you. Lilei waved. Fen Lin, with short hair next to him, woman, get out of here. Fen Lin was also ready to leave. However, the employee from just now walked over with a smile on her face, took a white bag in her hand, and handed it to Gudu. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry now. This is a limited edition in our store. It's worth 99,000. You can try it. Humph. That's it. Gudu took the bag and handed it to Tang Qian. Qian, try it. There's no need. Tang Qian still knows herself. What this employee said is ugly, but it is correct. The things here are not something she can afford. If he had 100,000 yuan in his hand, he would definitely improve his family situation first. For example, buy a washing machine so mom doesn't have to wash it by hand. Or spending tens of thousands to buy a new energy car. When it rains, it is better for my mother to go to work. Try it, what are you afraid of? Gudu put the bag on Tang Qian's shoulder and surrounded Tang Qian, not bad. Okay, let's go look somewhere else. Tang Qian immediately put the bag down. She took off her bag, handed it to the clerk, and took Gudu away. Stop. The employee suddenly shouted. Gudu turned around impatiently. What's wrong? Our limited edition bag was scratched by you. The employee pointed to the side of the bag. There was a long crack on it, as if it were the mark of a knife scratch. Impossible. I don't have anything sharp. Tang Qian carefully checked her body, her voice trembling with fear. Anyway, it was fine when I gave it to you. This bag costs 99,000 yuan. You can only buy it, otherwise I will call the police now. The clerk stuffed the bag back into Tang Qian's arms. Tang Qian was stunned. She looked at the bag in her arms, her mind went blank, and she almost fell. That's 99,000. Where would he get so much money from? What happened again? I told you just now, be nice to my friend. Lilei walked over from a distance, pointed at the female employee and scolded her. Master Li. Don't blame me this time. They broke the limited edition product in our store. The price is 99,000. The female employee said with a sad face. Fen Lin's eyes narrowed into a straight line and he already had an idea in mind. Chapter 69 Causing Big Trouble. Fen Lin already had a rough idea in mind. If nothing else happened, Lilei was responsible for all of this. Lilei's expression feigned surprise and he asked in shock, really or not? 100,000 yuan is not a small amount. It's not me. It's not me. Tang Qian looked at the limited edition bag in her hand, anxiously almost crying. His mother had just found a job, where could she get so much money? Do you want to borrow money again? Let me take a look. Lilei took the bag in his hand and carefully inspected the markings. It's over. The skin is peeling off. This bag is useless. Hearing this, Tang Qian's face became even more ugly. She had thought of a way before, which was to borrow money to buy the bag and then sell it to others. In the end, I lost 10,000 to 20,000 yuan, which was barely acceptable. Now it seems like $100,000 is just a piece of garbage. 99,000, please bring it or I will call the police. The clerk said calmly, but she felt happy in her heart. She will fool them all and get thousands of dollars in commissions in the end. Just as Gu Duoduo was about to speak, Fen Lin pressed her shoulders and signaled her not to be silent for the moment. Obviously, this is a trap and Gu Duoduo plans to take the money. Fen Lin had no intention of letting them go. He looked at the clerk with a smile. 100,000 yuan is a lot. We can't get it out, so you should call the police. Tang Qianqian's tears flowed. Unknowingly. If I had known better, I would have listened. As for Fen Lin, I will never return to this luxury store. Hey. Fen Lin, you don't know something. With this money, you can go to jail, Lilei sighed, otherwise, I will give you the money. Fen Lin smiled and the guy finally showed his foxtail. Master Lilei, why are you so embarrassed? Let me tell you the truth, I fell in love with your sister at first sight. I will give you 100,000 yuan and you don't have to pay it back. You can let your sister stay with me for a few days. After saying this, Lilei smiled, spreading his hands. Don't be angry yet, this is just my way. Fuck you. Gu Duoduo pointed at Lilei and cursed. Do you think I can't afford 100,000 yuan? That's amazing. Little sister, you don't need me, I'm just providing you with a method. Lilei smiled. After all, a third-level star can play with 100,000 a night. The female employee also sneered next to him. I already called police. They will arrive soon. Don't worry, trust me. Fen Lin wiped Tang Qianqian's tears with his fingers and not only refused to accept the money, but also asked these people to pay. Little then two uniformed police officers approached. The leader was a middle-aged man with a round face, who looked about 40 or 50 years old. He was accompanied by a young woman who had just started work. The middle-aged man approached and asked, "Who called the police?" "It was me and a few of them who broke our store's limited edition bag, worth 99,000. The clerk pointed at Fen Lin and others in front of her. Tang Qianqian wiped away her tears and he handed the bag to the middle-aged man. "How did you do it?" the middle-aged man asked. "Haha. Brother, I was waiting for you to ask this question." Fen Lin put his arm around Tang Qianqian's shoulders and said with a smile, "We don't know how it was made, but judging from the cracks, it should be a sharp blade." The middle-aged police officer observed carefully and nodded. "The cracked opening is very smooth." "You're right." Fen Lin pointed to the camera on the wall. "When we tried it out just now, the bag was still intact. After handing it to the clerk, something happened and you can collect evidence." When the clerk heard this, her original smile suddenly froze. "Do you mean this clerk is up to something?" The middle-aged police officer frowned. The clerk's eyes immediately panicked, but she still defended herself. "Spitting nonsense. Why did I tear our bags? Don't be nervous, just check it out." Fen Lin looked at the clerk and said with a smile, "From now on, until now, these three women haven't moved. Whoever has a sword on his body is the murderer." When the female employee heard this, her face instantly turned pale. The young police officer behind the middle-aged man immediately walked over and said, "They are women, I will do it." She first looked for Tang Qianqian and then looked for Gu Duoduo. No murder weapon was found. He finally approached the saleswoman and found that her legs were shaking. Seeing this, the two police officers already knew. "I found it." The policewoman found a small section of a blade from the employee's sleeve. When the employee saw this, her legs felt weak and she sat on the ground with a plop. Lilei, who was standing on distance, he also secretly cursed in his heart. Fen Lin held back and said nothing. It turned out that he was just waiting for the police. If he had asked someone to investigate the camera before, the sheet would have been secretly thrown away long ago. Time. He deliberately didn't say anything to allow the store clerk to relax his vigilance. Tang Qianqian finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. It turns out that the thief is shouting to catch the thief. "You can go." Captain Shang looked at Fen Lin and the others. "No. We can't leave yet. My sister is not in good health. This woman has slandered us and caused extortion. We want to file a lawsuit with her." Fen Lin grabbed one of Gu Duoduo's ponytails and shook it gently. "Call your lawyer." "Okay." Gu Duoduo smiled and took out his cell phone to call his family's lawyer. The sitting employee on the ground, she was dumbfounded and still can't believe it. In fact, she violated the law. She is not a lawyer, but she knows that extorting 100,000 yuan is enough to violate the criminal law. "No, it's not me, it's not me." The employee begged for mercy from Fen Lin and felt regretful. By the way, brother, I can roughly guess the reason for the blackmail. Fen Lin played the recording. There were 2 police officers, listening attentively. It's not me. It's Lilei. It was Lilei who asked me to do this. The employee is not a fool and will not go to jail for others for no reason. What's more, there's no benefit. Don't you dare to gossip. Do you have any evidence? Be careful, I will sue you for defamation. Lilei was also a little scared. He didn't expect things to develop to this point. Who was slandering someone? It was you who asked me to teach him a lesson. It was you who told me just now. Just as the clerk spoke, Lilei's words were also heard in the recording of Fen Lin's cell phone. He said that he was willing to pay 100,000, but he asked the clerk Fen Lin's sister to accompany him. Hearing this, the 2 policemen stared at Lilei. If that was the reason, it might actually be him. Soon after, 3 middle-aged men in suits and leather shoes arrived from the distance, each carrying a briefcase. Miss. The 3 people approached Guduadu and bowed respectfully. When the clerk and Lilei saw this, they all gasped in fear. Big shot. Guduadu told what happened just now. The senior lawyer nodded slightly, pushed up his glasses and said, "Don't worry madam, 100,000 is already a huge amount and is punishable by a prison sentence of more than 3 years and less than 10 years. The employee's face was pale. I didn't expect to provoke such a thing. Big things. Miss, not only that, we can also ask them to pay a certain amount of compensation to Miss." The senior lawyer took out his business card and handed it to Captain Shang next to him. "Hello, I am the lawyer of the Gu family. I would like to know more about it. Specific circumstances." Of all the people present, only Fen Lin and Guduadu were able to remain calm. The remaining people were frightened by Fen Lin's series of operations. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 70. Small things become big things explode. The expressions of the 2 police officers were also a little dumbfounded. They have seen many things like this, but most people choose to downplay the big things and make small things small. Unexpectedly, a trivial matter became a big problem and the matter exploded, directly increasing to more than 3 years and less than 10 years. As for the employee, her brain stopped thinking. His initial idea was very simple, just flatter him and show off in front of Lilei. I didn't expect this to happen. It's Lilei. He asked me to do everything, I swear. I swear. The employee shouted at the top of her lungs. He thought she was quite pretty and would marry a rich man in the future. But if she had been in jail, who among the rich would want her? If you live in prison for 5 or 6 years, you'll be in your 30s when you get out. It's not me. I want to give you a lawyer's ladder for your slander. Lilei was also scared and immediately called his father. Tell him what's going on here. At this moment, several lawyers downloaded Fen Lin's recording just now. Everyone listened attentively, without missing a word. Spare my life. Guys, I really know I was wrong. I can't see the truth. Let me go. Please. The female employee knelt on the ground and bowed madly to Fen Lin and others. She knew that even if Lilei admitted her mistake, she would be the most guilty. It's like buying a murder to kill someone. The person who pays the money may not die, but the person who kills will definitely die. Guduadu folded his hands and hummed softly. He raised his head and looked at Fen Lin. He was still amazing. If Fen Lin wasn't here, what he would do would be very simple. Throw 100,000 yuan in the employee's face. He then took Tang Qian away. It was no lesson at all and the employee even received a large commission of his money. But Fen Lin was able to make the other party kneel without spending any money. At this time, a middle-aged man with a square face walked hurriedly from a distance. Seeing this man, Lilei finally breathed a sigh of relief, walked over with a smile and said, "Dad." The person who came was Li Jinshan, the owner of the mall. What happened? Li Jinshan asked with a frown. Lilei looked at Fen Lin coldly and could only find an opportunity to retaliate against him next time. He pointed to the employee. "This woman slandered me. I didn't do it, it was Lilei who asked me to do it." That. The clerk wanted to cry without tears. "You are?" Suddenly, Li Jinshan saw Guduadu next to Fen Lin and trotted quickly. "Miss Gu. Who are you?" Guduadu wrinkled his nose. Lilei shouted, "How presumptuous. He is my father, the owner of this shopping mall." "You are so presumptuous." Li Jinshan slapped Lilei in the face and kicked him to the ground. "Dad. What are you doing?" Lilei shouted, covering his face. "Do you know who it is? This is the young lady from the Gu family, one of the 4 major families in Zhang City. Kneel down and apologize. Li Jinshan roared angrily and kicked him out again. Hurry up. Song, the family's stock market has plummeted recently and the Gu family is the well-deserved #1 in Zhang City. He owns a shopping mall with assets of just over 100 million. If the Gu family wants to deal with him, they don't need to do anything themselves. Those big companies who have fawned over him can easily put him out of business. She was still confused and didn't know what expression to use. She slapped herself directly. As a native of Zhang City, how could she not know anything about the Gu family? She actually mocked the people of the 4 major families and called them people. Lilei was too scared to speak. Why are you standing there? Kneel down and apologize. Li Jinshan hit Lilei on the head again. Lilei quickly bowed to Gu. I'm sorry, Miss Gu. I was wrong. They are still my good sisters. Gu pointed to Tang Qian next to her. I'm sorry. Lilei bowed to Tang Qian again. I know I was wrong, please. Please forgive me. Lilei couldn't believe that Fen Lin actually knew the young lady from the Gu family. Is an apology useful? Compensation for my sister's mental damage. Fen Lin put his arm around Tang Qian's shoulders and said calmly. Yes. Li Jinshan nodded repeatedly, took out a bank card from his body and said with a smile. Guys, some thoughts. The police are watching here. We will never ask for more. WeChat transfer it to 2,000. Fen Lin opened the payment code and faced Li Jinshan. Li Jinshan nodded and immediately transferred 2,000 yuan to Fen Lin. Okay, let's go. Fen Lin grabbed Gu and Tang Qian respectively. And before leaving, he didn't forget to look at Lilei, who was kneeling on the ground. Fen Lin, you're the best. In fact, you won $2,000. Tang Qian smiled and nudged Fen Lin with her elbow. She was scared to death at that moment. You have to use your brain to be a human being. $1,000 is mine and you two have 500 each. Fen Lin took out his mobile phone and smiled at the two of them. This time it's my fault. Qian has been wronged. You guys can divide the money. Gu didn't pay attention to 500 yuan at all. 500 for each of you. Fen Lin knew Tang Qian's temperament. Only dividing it like this wouldn't feel like charity. While dividing the money, Fen Lin suddenly raised his head and looked at a Lincoln passing by in the distance, with an ancient warrior on him. At least, it was Wei Yangzi, in the Lincoln car, the tall and thin middle-aged man sitting in the car. Backseat handed a briefcase to Wei Yangzi next to him. Yangzi, this is the information you want? Zhu Yuan, Fen Lin and Yishen. Yes. Wei Yangzi opened the file bag and looked at the information one by one. Finally, his eyes fell on Yishen's information. She is indeed your daughter, Chen Yan. Now is our opportunity to do a meritorious act. Let them kill her tonight. Well, it's just our son, Ming is dead. Chen Yan hugged Wei Yangzi's waist and sighed deeply. It doesn't matter. When all these people are dead, the worst thing we can do is have another one. Wei Yangzi buried her head in Chen Yan's arms. Fen Lin was shopping with the two girls when he suddenly received a text message from Sakam Jin. After looking at him, he grabbed the back of Tang Qian's head and said, I have to leave earlier. You can't spend more than 100 today, otherwise your boat will be swollen when you get home. After saying that, Fen Lin stopped the taxi. Get out of here. Qian. Fen Lin really has them smoked it, right? Gu asked strangely. Stop talking nonsense. He doesn't even dare to touch me at home, Tang Qian said, pretending to be proud. Fen Lin arrived at the club and a uniformed waitress had been waiting for Fen Lin early. Seeing Fen Lin come in, he said with a smile, please follow me. Fen Lin nodded and went to the cafe on the 7th floor with this woman. Yishen and Sakam Jin are sitting here. Yishen is still wearing a black skirt, and her whole body exudes a unique atmosphere. As for Sakam Jin, he's still so beautiful. What happened? Fen Lin walked over and sat next to Sakam Jin. I installed a microphone in your car. Sakam Jin turned on the recording on his cell phone and put it on the table. After listening to the recording, Fen Lin raised the corners of his mouth slightly. This woman actually rocked a man. No wonder he doesn't live in the Song family. Mr. Fen Lin, I might die today because of you. Should you save me? Yishen took the coffee, his eyes as calm as ever. No. In their conversation, killing you is an opportunity to perform meritorious acts. Whose daughter are you? Fen Lin crossed his legs and asked with a smile. P.S. I'm late, brothers. Today's New Year's Eve. I went to my hometown to post couplets, and I almost forgot to update. Chapter 71. You're trash. Yishen's expression changed slightly. She smiled and shook her head. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about this. What if I have to know? Fen Lin smiled and hugged Sakam Jin, and the two looked at each other. At Yishan together. I can only tell you one thing. My mother is from the Yi family. She is not married yet. I grew up in the Yi family without a father. When Yishan spoke about this matter, her deep eyes revealed infinite sadness. She was not treated well by others since she was a child, and even her mother was considered a disgrace. The dignified daughter of the Yi family came home alone with a bulging belly, and not even the man knew who she was. Among the wealthy families in Jiangbai, it was almost an after-dinner joke. Logically speaking, as a direct descendant, she should be in the Yi family, preparing to slowly take over the family estate. But she was sent to Jiang City to be an informant. He also specifically ordered that without being called by the family, he would not be able to return to the Yi family for the rest of his life. I understand, that is, the reason you were killed was your father. Fen Lin got up and went to the refrigerator in the distance to take out a bottle of beer. Yishan nodded slightly. Interesting. Fen Lin tapped it with his thumbnail and the beer cap flew off. He took a sip and smiled at Sakam Jin. Fourth, I'll leave it to you, stay alive. Okay. Sakam Jin nodded expressionlessly. Mr. Fen Lin, my words may make you angry, but it's about my life. Is it okay for Mr. Sakam to be alone? Yishan looked a little embarrassed. After all, the other party is a master of the Wei family. This guy with thin arms and legs might not be as good as Wei Jian. Fourth, don't be angry, remember to stay alive. Fen Lin smiled and put the wine bottle on the table, stood behind Sakam Jin and squeezed him. Haha, I worry too much. Yishan pursed his lips. Since he chose to board Fen Lin's ship, he could only believe him. Don't worry, I'll be there tonight too. He winked at Yi Lin, was sitting in the corner, with several bottles of liquor placed in front of the table. He was alone, observing the surroundings with dull eyes, which was incompatible with this place. He didn't like the occasion. Handsome boy. Alone. A drunk woman sat opposite Fen Lin, leaning on the table with a smile and looking at Fen Lin. She was wearing jean shorts that exposed her long legs and a loose blue blouse. Because he drank too much, his face was sweaty and his hair was soaked. But he still couldn't hide the other person's appearance. It's a person. Fen Lin took the white wine from the glass and drank it all in one gulp. You're quite handsome. Do you want to be a pretty girl? My sister has a lot of money. The woman rested her chin in her hands and continued to squint her eyes, as if she couldn't open them. The long eyelashes are like fans, moving up and down, and some tears can be seen. I'm sorry, I have a mental disorder and I don't like women trapped in love, because they have other men inside. Fen Lin poured another half glass of white wine into the wine glass. Haha. I thought you were like that. Traction would pretend to be my friend and then take me to the hotel. Xiao Yu raised her cheeks and smiled doubly at Fen Lin. Fen Lin took another sip of white wine and asked calmly, where is that trash? I kicked you hard until you died. Xiao Yu explained with a smile, you should know where to kick. Fen Lin shook his head and said no more. Smelly bitch, I finally found you. At this moment, a tall young man in a suit approached from a distance with a sinister tone and knocked on the table. What are you doing? My husband is here, why don't you touch me? Xiao Yu pointed at Fen Lin and said coldly. Brat. Are you his man? As soon as the tall young man finished speaking, 5 or 6 little gangsters in strange clothes walked over with sneers on their faces. Several people surrounded Fen Lin and Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was so scared that she walked up to Fen Lin, hugged Fen Lin's arm, and whispered in her ear, Save me, I'll accompany you tonight. After saying that, she looked at everyone in front of her with a smile. Provocative look. Brat. I think you're trying to show off, aren't you? As soon as the tall man finished speaking, a beer bottle hit him on the head. Ah! He shouted, covering his head and crouching on the ground. Magd. You are looking for death. Do you know who it is? A bald man appeared here. He smiled flatteringly at Fen Lin. Brother Lin, what should we do with these people? This person was Liu Tu. The few gangsters here were so scared that they were all blinded. The bald man in front of me is Sister Yi's younger brother, Brother Tu. These little gangsters are generally not qualified to talk to others. Unexpectedly, such a big man would have so much respect for the young man in front of him, which is enough to illustrate the identity of this young man. The tall man squatting on the ground had been in this bar for many years, so he naturally knew Liu Tu. He hurriedly begged for mercy. Brother Yu, have mercy on me, I am drunk, I deserve to die. Why are you begging me for mercy? You provoked Brother Lin. Liu Tu shouted coldly. Brother Lin, please forgive me. I shouldn't have offended you. The man turned pale with fear and bowed to Fen Lin repeatedly. Wow. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Xiao Yu, who was next to Fen Lin, asked with a smile. Fen Lin ignored her words and said expressionlessly, "Get up. Although you have offended me, this woman offended me more." He drank the white wine in the glass, looked at Zhao Yu lightly, and gave her a backhand gesture. "Take out the slab." Broken. Zhao Yu's body lost control, staggered a few times, and fell to the ground. "You dare to hit me." Zhao Yu covered her face with tears streaming down her face. She stood up angrily and pointed at Fen Lin hesitantly. "You dare to hit me? Do you know who I am?" Fen Lin calmly said, "I know you are trash. If I were an ordinary person and could be injured now, you would be the murderer." He hated those know-it-all women the most in his life. If he was in trouble, he could ask for help. I think many men will stand up. Who doesn't want a hero to save a beautiful woman? But she deliberately got people into trouble. If Fen Lin were an ordinary person, this group of people would probably have taught him a lesson right now. The woman may have secretly escaped while he was being beaten. In the end, he did not provoke her, but was beaten because of her. Fen Lin's words left Zhao Yu speechless, but he still pointed at Fen Lin and shouted coldly, "I remember you and I won't let you go." After saying that, she covered her face and ran away crying. At the same time, in the cafe on the 7th floor, Yi Shen looked at the surveillance camera with a smile. Suddenly, the glass of the side window shattered. Whoa, whoa. Here 3 men appeared in sports clothing, black caps and masks. I found it. The protagonist was ruthless and killed Yi Shen as soon as he saw her without wasting a second. Extremely fast. Yi Shen's pupils suddenly shrank, her eyes fixed on the sword near her. Brush. Sikong Jin, who was lying on a sofa, grabbed the man's shoulder at some point, preventing him from moving forward. Boom. Suddenly, the man's body shook violently and a mouthful of blood spurted out. He fell to the ground instantly, not knowing if he was alive or dead. How dirty. Sikong Jin frowned slightly and looked at his left hand in disgust. Chapter 72 Transformation. Sikong Jin used the mineral water next to him to clean his left hand. Then he took out a white handkerchief from his jacket pocket. While wiping his left hand, he calmly walked towards the remaining 2 people. The 2 remaining people looked at each other and could see each other's fear. Without thinking, they prepared to escape through the window. Sikong Jin was still taking his time. After taking 2 steps, the ground under his feet suddenly shattered. Oh! In an instant, he was between the 2. He made no move and the 2 men suddenly rolled their eyes and fell to the ground. Sikong Jin threw his handkerchief into the trash and walked towards the sofa with an indifferent expression. A ceramic bottle on the counter next to him suddenly broke and shattered with a crash. Yi Shen's eyes widened and he didn't dare to breathe. Being able to attack the target without touching it can only be achieved if you enter the realm of transformation and above. Transformation, bursting out the energy in the body, turning it into a tangible attack. The Sikong Jin in front of me was at the legendary transformation realm. How can it be? Yi Shen couldn't believe how he could enter such a realm at such a young age. Could it be that he is stronger than Fen Lin? Haha, Mr. Sikong, I'm blind. I didn't expect you to be such a strong person. I apologize for underestimating you before. Yi Shen quickly stood up and hugged Sikong Jin, her hands trembling. The living kingdom of transformation. Ultimately, the reason why his Yi family is so powerful is because his grandfather is a master in the realm of transformation. But in front of him is a young man who will only get stronger in the future. Yes, Sikong Jin nodded and sent a message to Fen Lin on his mobile phone. Yi Shen was a little speechless. In fact, after Fen Lin sent him here, she had always wanted to get closer to Sikong. I want to know who Fen Lin is. But Sikong Jin always said one word every time, whether it was N or O. Only when Fen Lin was around did he say more. I didn't expect that attacking from behind would make me wait so long. Fen Lin walked in with his hands in his pants pockets and a smile on his face. He approached the fallen and checked their left hands. There was no mark of the 9 others. It seems that these people should belong to the Wei family and their strength is far inferior to Jialan. Someone tie them up. Fen Lin looked at Yi Shen, preparing for a proper interrogation. Yi Shen nodded her head, and when she walked out, she didn't forget to look at Fen Lin. At the very least, Fen Lin should be a young man from a rich family, and Sikong Jin would be his bodyguard. Not long after, Wang Jian ushered several people in. They took thick wires and clamps and tied the legs and hands of the 3 people, forcing them to sit in a row. Fen Lin took out a silver needle from his belt and pierced the necks of the 3 of them. After fainting, their bodies suddenly twitched a few times and then they woke up weakly. After the 3 of them woke up, they immediately looked around cautiously. They wanted to escape, but they felt that their limbs were weak. Looking at their bodies, they saw that their hands and feet were tied again after they were unable to use their strength. There was no hope of escape. Fen Lin looked at the three of them with a smile, took off all the hats and masks. Hello, tell me, who asked you to come? The three of them closed their eyes and said nothing. Hey. Brothers, what a pity. With your strength, you can obviously have a good life. Fen Lin took a few steps back and pointed to the three people in front of him. They have all become eunuchs. The three of them heard this, their faces suddenly changed. He was pale and felt as if the hairs on his entire body were standing up. This is not the same as being whipped or having your fingers pinched. The wound can be repaired, but it cannot grow back after becoming a eunuch. Brush. Wang Jian took out his dagger and walked towards the group of people without any expression. No. One of the short-haired men was so scared that his legs were shaking. I am from the Wei family. Wei Yanzi asked us to kill Yixin. It's great to tell the truth. We are all good people. Fen Lin walked over with a smile and continued to ask, why do you want to kill Yixin? I really don't know this. I remember that before they came to Zhang City, they said they wanted to kill Yixin, the short-haired man explained. Fen Lin turned around and looked at Yixin, lost in thought. It seems that his identity is not simple. Who was Chang'an? Fen Lin recalled the previous recording, in which Wei Yanzi called the man next to him Chang'an. Mr. Chen is a good friend of Miss Wei. The two have always been inseparable. We don't know who the other person is. When the short-haired man spoke, his eyes glanced at his companion next to him from time to time. When? At the time. He was the only one who spoke the entire time, in case Fen Lin let them go in the end. These two men are likely to file a complaint. Okay, what's your name? Fen Lin took the vise from the table and cut the short-haired man's cable. My name is Wang Erdu. I won't talk nonsense. If you want to leave, just kill them. Fen Lin pointed at Wang Erdu's two companions. The two companions were so scared that they thought Fen Lin would let them go together. As long as I kill them, can I leave? Wang Erdu had this plan. After his death, no one knew that he had surrendered to the enemy to survive. That's right, but you have to leave your contact information and pass the news to us. Fen Lin nodded. This was how they often did it when performing tasks before. If Wang Erdu disobeys, the video of him killing his partner will be sent to Wei Yanzi. One can imagine what will happen to him after that. As he spoke, Fen Lin cut the cables binding him. Wang Erdu grabbed the dagger with his backhand and killed his companion without hesitation. The two companions were still sorry before they died. Their idea was that if they didn't speak, they would let Wang Erdu speak alone. If Wei Yanzi finds out in the future, they can come together and testify that it was Wang Erdu who said it, so that he can take the blame. Unexpectedly, cunning can be confused with cunning. Yixin sat far away and took a sip of coffee, her hand holding the cup trembling. With the two lines disappearing like this, Fen Lin's expression did not change at all. Who is he? What are you doing standing around? Let's exchange contact information. Fen Lin looked at Yixin. Yes. Yixin nodded like a subordinate because she was too nervous. He took out his mobile phone, exchanged contact information with Wang Erdu, and then let Wang Erdu leave. As long as Wei Yanzi has any movement, he will send a message to Yixin. Things here are over for now. Fen Lin takes a taxi home. Early the next morning, Fen Lin sat behind Tang Qian and rode an electric car with her. The one at home, Tang Hong, went to work. The two arrived at the school and Fen Lin found a minivan parked at the door and a man adjusting the camera. There is also a woman with long hair, holding a microphone and buzzing. What happened today? Do you want to be interviewed by the TV station? Fen Lin jumped out of the back seat and asked strangely. Anyway, it has nothing to do with us anyway. Tang Qian also stopped and looked at the reporter in the distance. Miss, look. That's the person in the video. The middle-aged man who was adjusting the camera suddenly pointed at Fen Lin. A long-haired woman wearing an OL uniform and black high-heeled shoes turned around with a microphone in her hand and ran to Fen Lin's side. Hello, sir, are you the teacher who became popular on the internet yesterday? Xiao Yu simply turned the microphone towards Fen Lin and suddenly found that this man looked familiar. Isn't he, the man who slapped him yesterday? Fuck. It's you. Xiao Yu pointed at Fen Lin and shouted angrily. Chapter 73 Treatment. Fen Lin did not react at this time, but noticed the essence of the eyelashes and remembered it. She was the woman I met last night at the bar. I didn't expect her to be a reporter. Shit. Xiao Yu threw the microphone forcefully at Fen Lin. She turned around and shouted at the middle-aged man facing the camera. Old Zhang. Beat him up. Tang Qian next to her was still in a state of confusion. But Fen Lin immediately sat in the back seat of the electric car, hugged Tang Qian in front of him. Let's go. Tang Qianqian's face turned red, but she still turned the handlebars and the electric car disappeared in an instant. Stop. Because Zhao Yu was wearing high heels, one of his shoes fell off after just 2 steps and fell to the ground with a plop. Miss. What is going on? Photographer Shang hurriedly walked over and helped Zhao Yu up. That bastard just slapped me yesterday. Zhao Yu put on his shoes angrily and stamped his feet angrily. Miss, I won't ask why. I can beat you up, but what about your interview? Bao Fang asked seriously. Zhao Yu took a deep breath and decided to make a score for his family to see. He picked up the microphone from the floor. Come on. Interview. What's going on? When did you provoke a journalist? Tang Qianqian parked the electric car in the parking lot and asked angrily. Hey. She took advantage of me yesterday, so I slapped her. Fen Lin smiled and pushed Tang Qianqian. Let's go back to the classroom. The two came to the classroom together, and many people in the class stood up. He stood up and applauded. Tang Qianqian thought it was a joke on herself and quickly returned to her seat. What's wrong? Fen Lin asked, sitting on the podium and holding his chin. Master, don't you know? Have you become an internet celebrity? Bai Nuan stood up and smiled. Yesterday someone posted a video of you playing basketball on the internet. After hearing this, Fen Lin immediately understood. No wonder he was interviewing her. Tang Qianqian also secretly took out a mobile phone and searched for news about Fen Lin. Yesterday, after she and Gu Duo finished shopping, they went home and watched an American TV series to learn English, but they didn't read the news online. Grandmas. Who uploaded it? I like to keep a low profile. Fen Lin covered her face. People like him are not suitable to be active on the internet. It looks like we need to contact the country and ask them to turn down the heat. Hello? Are you teacher Fen Lin? I'm Zhao Yu, a reporter from Jiangbai TV station. Zhao Yu knocked on the door of the class and walked in with a microphone. Yes. This is Fen Lin. He was the one who played basketball yesterday. Wow. From the Jiangbai TV station, teacher, you will be at the provincial TV station. The students in the class were afraid that the world would not be in chaos. After Zhao Yu walked in, Zhang, the cameraman behind him, also walked over. Master Fen Lin, may I interview you? Zhao Yu took a deep breath and forced a smile. No. Fen Lin flatly refused. Stop taking pictures. If you take pictures again, I will sue you for infringing on my portrait right. Zhao Yu's long eyelashes flashed several times and refused to let me take the photo, but I took the photo anyway, Master Fen Lin, yesterday. Some comments said that your video was a trick. What do you think? Trick effects. Fen Lin was taken aback for a moment, then nodded with a smile. Yes, it's a trick. Yesterday everything was computer-generated. Zhao Yu's Fen Lin. The response was such that I didn't know what to say. When he said he was a specialist, shouldn't he say it was his skill? If you can be popular on the internet, even if you don't you can make the national team, you can still make more money as an internet celebrity than as a teacher. No. It's not synthetic. We all saw yesterday's game with our own eyes. Bai Nuan stood up and explained. Sit down. Fen Lin pointed at Bai Nuan and shouted. Hey. Master Fen Lin is quite strict. As a teacher, isn't it bad to be so cruel to students? Zhao Yu suddenly asked in a sinister tone, finally grasping his weakness. I also wanted to hurt you, but you didn't. Fen Lin raised his eyes and looked in front of him. Zhao Yu pointed at Fen Lin angrily. Although I am B, she is still curvy, but how can this be said clearly? I advise you to leave quickly. I have to go. To class. Fen Lin held her chin and looked at Zhao Yu. I won't bother the teacher anymore. Zhao Yu turned and left. She wouldn't give up like that. Even if she didn't do the interview, you would still dislike it. Fen Lin was relieved when he saw them leave. After one class, Fen Lin was ready to leave. There was only one class today. Just after leaving the department, Zhao Yu walked over from a distance holding a mobile phone. Camera behind her is gone and she is alone here. But she was wearing high heels. How could she keep up with Fen Lin? In just 3 strikes, 5 divided by 2, Fen Lin disappeared from his sight. Fen Lin stopped a taxi and headed to Zhu's house. Counting time, almost a week has passed and both Zhu Yuan and Zhu Ziyang can move on to the next step. When he arrived at Zhu's house, Zhu Yuan was looking at his cell phone in the yard. When he saw Fen Lin, he said respectfully, Mr. Fen Lin. I'm here to treat you today. I'll give you a final stimulation and then change the medication. I will keep it for half a month. You can fully recover. Fen Lin walked directly to the villa in the distance. Zhu Yuan followed Fen Lin and said, I just received the news that Wei Yanzi went to Zhu's house. Again. Oh. Fen Lin frowned slightly and shook his head gently. Ignore her for the moment. I'll cure her. You first. Okay. When I recover, sir, if you can use me, just ask. Zhu Yuan took off his shirt, revealing a strong body. There was a huge wound mark on his waist. Hold. Fen Lin took out a silver needle from his belt and held it between his fingers. The needle began to shake violently. Brush. Fen Lin stabbed him in the waist. After piercing, the silver needle was still shaking violently. Zhu Yuan took a deep breath and felt a hot temperature on the needle, burning the inside of his skin. However, this pain is much less than the pain of the wound. He can take it. Fen Lin turned the silver needle again. Buzz. The silver needle trembled again. A few seconds later, Fen Lin held the silver needle between his fingers and took it out. Okay, I will send you a text message about the medicine. The next medicine will be administered once a day before going to bed. Thank you, sir. Zhu Yuan shook him gently. After putting on his clothes, he smiled and asked, Sir, my daughter's injury, where's she? Fen Lin asked. Haha. She is still sleeping. Zhu Yuan looked a little embarrassed. With Zhu Ziyang's condition, he couldn't bear to tire her out. She is almost always at home except when she goes to other places for treatment. Wake her up. Sir, go ahead yourself. Anyway, they are good friends. Zhu Yuan winked at Fen Lin. Fen Lin put his hand at his forehead helplessly. You really believe me? Zhu Yuan didn't say anything. Who doesn't want their daughter to have a good home? By marrying Fen Lin will be able to take care of her if she gets sick again in the future. What's more, from Zhu Ziyang, she learned that Zhu Ruoying also liked Fen Lin. Loud, very big. He needs to speed up the pairing. Fen Lin knocked on the door and said, Zhu Ziyang, get up. There was no sound inside. Zhu Yuan called from below. Sir, the door is open. Fen Lin rolled his eyes, but as a doctor, he still opened the door and walked in. I have been here once before, so I am quite familiar with it. From a distance, you can see Zhu Ziyang lying here with a quilt between her legs, and you can also see her white panties. Fen Lin secretly sighed in trouble, turned his back to her and said, Zhu Ziyang's ears moved and she suddenly turned around, her pretty face turning bright red at a speed visible to the naked eye. P.S. Happy New Year, brothers. I wish you all to gain 3 pounds in the new year. Chapter 74. Sign a contract. The blush spread from Zhu Ziyang's cheeks to the roots of her ears. She immediately covered her head with the quilt and was too embarrassed to see anyone. Don't be shy, I'm here to treat you. Fen Lin turned around and walked a few steps closer. Zhu Ziyang grabbed the quilt with both hands, revealing only a pair of bright eyes, watching secretly. Come. I'll tell you what I'm going to do next. Fen Lin raised his hands and made a gesture. I will put my left hand on your heart in front of you and my right hand on your heart. You and Fen Lin, you bastard, are you taking revenge on me? Zhu Ziyang lay down again in embarrassment. Originally, his feelings for Fen Lin were those of an ordinary friend. But Zhu Ruoying chats with her every day and discusses with her how to drive away Lan Rao. This gave him a very tangled emotion. She clearly wanted to become good friends with Fen Lin, but she knew that Zhu Ruoying liked Fen Lin and as her best friend, she wanted to stay away from Fen Lin. It was nothing from the past, he felt that he would die at any moment, so he did not dare to seek his own happiness. If you marry a man and die within a few days, it would be very unfair to him. Now it's different. Fen Lin can cure her illness and allow him the right to pursue happiness like an ordinary woman. Then she started to get confused. Hurry up. Fen Lin was a little impatient. Let me tell you, I have your father's permission. Your father won't care what I do to you. Zhu Ziyang puffed her mouth slightly and continued the hint. I told myself this was treating a disease, curing a disease. He then closed his eyes and gave it to Fen Lin to treat. At the same time, Wei Yanzi arrived at the Zhu family. Zhu Ruoying is usually busy with her new company these days, and Su Chuan also goes to her original company. There is only Wang Qing at home. Wei Yanzi said with a smile. Madam, I'm sorry to bother you again. No, anyway, I'm alone at home and it's pretty boring. Wang Qing also knew Wei Yanzi's identity. Zhu Chuan said that she was legally inherited Song Zhengtao's property yesterday. A skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Even if the Song family's stock market has been falling in recent days, it still has no comparison with the Zhu family. Sorry about what happened earlier. I did some research and found out that Fen Lin is not Mr. Zhu Yuan's nephew, Wei Yanzi said with a smile. That. Wang Qing stood up in shock, then smiled and waved. Haha, Mrs. Song is very good at joking. How is that possible? I don't need to lie to you, Mr. Zhu Yuan has no sisters in your household record. Wei Yanzi came here this time to investigate Fen Lin. This person is a bit strange. As the illegitimate daughter of the Wei family, Wei Yanzi has been able to reach this point. How could she do it without a little help from the city? Shit. Isn't that right? Wei Qing also felt strange. If Zhu Tianchuan were his second uncle, Zhu Ziyang would definitely know him. It turns out that what she and Zhu Chuan were thinking before was just imagination. Damn. Wei Qing suddenly remembered that when she invited him to dinner, the other party dared to ridicule her, and she seemed flattering to please him, and he felt like he was going to explode. That poor boy is looking for death. Give him sunshine and he will shine, and he actually pretends to be like him, saying something to keep his fiancée from cheating on him. Damn. Haha, Mrs. Zhu, since Feng Lin is related to your family, I want to know where Feng Lin's hometown is. Wei Yanzi said about the purpose of this time. There was very little information about Feng Lin. Simply put, there were only 2 records. I studied in Jiangshi when I was in high school and I am currently an English teacher of Jiangshi University. Apart from that, there is no information regarding his identity. It seems to be, let me think about it, my husband told me yesterday. Wei Qing rubbed his temples and suddenly raised his eyes. Fengjia Village. Fengjia Village in the Central Plains. Thank you, I have done it. Something else to do first. Let's go. Wei Yanzi showed a faint smile, turned around and left. It seems that someone needs to go to his hometown to find out who he is. Wei Yanzi left and Wei Qing immediately called Zhu Chuan. The treatment Feng Lin was almost finished. After he left, Zhu Ziyang went back to bed. Sir, how is it? Recovered. It's still the same medicine as before. If you continue taking it, it will take about 10 days to recover. Feng Lin said goodbye to Zhu Yuan just after leaving the Zhu family mansion. His phone vibrated. It turned out that it was a text message sent to him by an unknown number. Feng Lin, you're an idiot. 205. After seeing this text message, Feng Lin immediately dialed the number. Who dares to be mean to him? Upon discovering that the other party was online, Feng Lin immediately asked, who the hell are you? It's me. Wei Qing's voice was heard. Is that you, old dog? Wei Qing, don't you want to be around anymore? How dare you disrespect me? Feng Lin cursed angrily. You're the old dog. Are you pretending to be Mr. Zhu's nephew? You're your uncle. Shameless boy. Wei Qing specially asked for Feng Lin's mobile phone number from Zhu Ruiying. Just give him a good scolding. Feng Lin touched his nose and it turned out that the old dog knew about it. It was probably Wei Yanzi who investigated his identity and told it to Wei Qing. Haha. You are very respectful to me yesterday, as respectful as a dog. After scolding, Feng Lin hung up and blocked her phone number. Not long after, Zhu Ruiying sent a location-sharing message to Feng Lin on WeChat. Feng Lin hesitated for a moment and clicked to accept. About 10 minutes later, Zhu Ruiying's car stopped next to Feng Lin. Feng Lin was sitting in the passenger seat and looked at Zhu Ruiying with a smile. What happened? Did you reveal your secret? Zhu Ruiying looked at Feng Lin, stepped on the accelerator, and the car left here. Feng Lin also smiled and shook her head. She held her chin and looked at the scenery outside the window. Suddenly, her expression changed. Where are we going? This road is the provincial road leading out of Jiang City. I wanted to go out to talk about business, so I brought you here. Zhu Ruiying looked at Feng Lin. Send me back, I have something else to do. Don't worry, I'm just going to sign a contract and stay 1 night at most. Zhu Ruiying usually brings at least 2 bodyguards with her when she goes out to sign contracts, but with Feng Lin by her side, she on the contrary, feels safer. Tell me in advance where you will go next time. Feng Lin was a little helpless, but 1 day was still acceptable. Now that Lao Si is here in Jiang City, Wei Yanzi can't cause trouble. In about 40 minutes, the two arrived at the capital of Jiangbai province. Cloud City. It is considered a new first-class city. The only ones in Jiangbai that can rank higher young city in Jiang City. Feng Lin looked at the buildings outside through the car window. In fact, he was better than Yangshi in every aspect. Let's eat something first. This is our Zhu family's property. Seeing that it was time for dinner, Zhu Ruiying parked the car next to an upscale restaurant. It turns out that all their businesses opened in Jiang City. Feng Lin looked at the advertising sign and walked towards the restaurant with Zhu Ruiying. It's just after 12 and there are a lot of people here. But when Zhu Ruiying walked in, she instantly attracted everyone's attention. Zhu Ruiying's face was a little sad. She didn't like this kind of look, so she usually liked to wear sports clothes. The loose clothing made his proud figure less conspicuous. But today he was here to sign a contract, so he could only dress more formally. It must be said that it is a fault for her to wear a uniform. Xiaoying. Are you Xiaoying? Suddenly, a man with a greasy head and a suit stood in front of Zhu Ruang. His face was a little plump and he looked rich. "Are you Kingpin?" Zhu Ruang looked at the man and he said quietly. "Haha. I didn't expect to find you here, what a fate." Kingpin suddenly looked at Fen Lin and asked with a smile, "Who was this?" "My boyfriend." After Zhu Ruang explained, he took Fen Lin out. Arriving at the front desk, "Give us a private room." Kingpin looked at Zhu Ruang's elegant back, took out his mobile phone, and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Zhu Ruang has appeared. Chapter 75. Should I go down alone or ask you to go down? The waiter led Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang to the private room on the second floor. Before Zhu Ruang entered, he casually ordered a set meal for two. "Does the Zhu family have many properties in Yun City?" Fen Lin sat down, looked at Zhu Ruang and asked. Zhu Ruang closed the door and sat next to Fen Lin. "No, our industry is mainly in Zhang City, and Yun City only invests in this restaurant." Fen Lin nodded slightly and said nothing more. After all, Yun City is the province capital of Jiabai. The pressure of competition must be great. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. Two waiters entered separately and placed their lunches on the table. "Please use it slowly." The two waiters bowed to Fen Lin and Zhu Ruang and left. Fen Lin looked at the fruit plate and the steak and ate them unceremoniously. "By the way, when you go to sign a contract, do I have to follow you?" Fen Lin asked while eating. "Of course we have to follow it. This low-price deal was given to us by Mr. Zhu's face. Who knows what else could happen?" Zhu Ruang looked at the message on her phone and immediately said to Fen Lin, "Eat quickly. Let's go there early." Compared to Zhu Ruang, Fen Lin was much faster and finished his portion in just a minute or two. Zhu Ruang's expression showed that she only ate a little of the fruit plate and didn't even finish a third of the steak before she was ready to leave. Waste of food. Fen Lin placed Zhu Ruang's plate in front of him and began to eat. When Zhu Ruang saw this scene, her pretty face suddenly turned red. "I had eaten this steak before." Fen Lin didn't know what Zhu Ruang was thinking and never cared about the food. "When I was a child, I trained with the country's secret army, and while I could satisfy my hunger, I didn't eat anything." Zhu Ruang tried her best to return to normal, took Fen Lin and headed back to her Mercedes-Benz. After checking the instruments in the mirror, he started the car, only to discover that it wouldn't start. After several consecutive times, it cannot be started. Isn't that right? The car broke down. Zhu Ruang's face became more and more anxious. Why did something happen at this moment of signing the contract? If the contract cannot be signed on time, according to the contract, the company has the right to reevaluate the price. At that time, it will be Zhu Ruang's loss. Not only that, something went wrong right after cooperating with the Zhu family. What would Mr. Zhu think of her? Oh, bad start. "Let's take a taxi." Zhu Ruang just opened the car door and met Kingpin from before. He looked at Zhu Ruang with a smile on his face and said, "Xiaoying, do you have time? We haven't seen each other for a long time, why don't we get together?" "Sorry, I have to sign a contract here, it's urgent." Zhu Ruang packed up the file bag. He got into the bag and took Fen Lin to the intersection. But after waiting several minutes, there was no taxi. "Don't worry," Fen Lin comforted him softly. "I was going to check the car to see what was going on. Xiaoying, how about I take you there?" Kingpin drove his Land Rover and slowly drove past Zhu Ruang. Zhu Ruang hesitated for a moment, nodded slightly, and put Fen Lin into the car. This Land Rover is a 7-seater car. In addition to Kingpin, there are 3 people in it, all strong men. Zhu Ruang took Fen Lin out and sat in the third row. Fen Lin frowned slightly, feeling something was wrong. According to common sense, a beautiful woman suddenly appeared in the car. A man should take a look at it. The faces of these men were expressionless and their eyes always looked straight ahead. "Xiaoying, where are you going?" Kingpin turned around with a smile. "Nanshan International." Zhu Ruang hugged her back and said calmly. "Okay." Kingpin agreed and started the car. Fen Lin looked around carefully and observed the surroundings here, took out his mobile phone to search for the map, and immediately handed it to Zhu Ruang. Because its current route is exactly the opposite direction from Nanshan International. Zhu Ruang didn't pay attention at first, but she realized it later and immediately said loudly, "Kingpin, why are you going in the opposite direction?" "Haha. The road is blocked, let's take a detour." Kingpin passed through the rear-view mirror. Jin looked at Zhu Ruang and said with a smile, "You're talking nonsense. Where are you taking us?" "I'm going to call the police." Zhu Ruang often uses maps. Internet is very convenient now. If any road is impassable, it will be shown on the map. Hearing that Zhu Ruang was about to call the police, Kingpin stepped on the accelerator and entered a suburban road. The strong man sitting opposite Zhu Ruoying turned around and said coldly, "As long as you dare to take the mobile phone, I will destroy you." Zhu Ruoying's face turned pale and she couldn't help but lean towards Fen Lin. "Brother, do you want to take revenge on us because I took away your goddess?" Fen Lin asked unhurriedly. In Fen Lin's opinion, if this kind of business fails, it will fail and you will not lose much money. HMPH. Kim Peng snorted coldly without answering. On this uninhabited road, it reached a full 200 meters. After 5 or 6 kilometers, he stepped on the brake and stopped the car on the road. "Throw these two people away." Seeing this, Fen Lin hugged Zhu Ruoying with a smile. "I thought they were going to find a place where there was no one around. Harassing you, it turns out that we are simply not allowed to return." After Fen Lin's reminder, Zhu Ruoying suddenly realized that Kim Peng should know the time when his contract was signed. Deliberately make it difficult to pass. There is no car on this road and it is impossible to run back. But it would take a long time for others to catch it. Zhu Ruoying said in a deep voice, "Kim Peng. So your purpose is to prevent me from signing the contract. As you guessed it, I won't hide it from you. I had someone cut the wiring in your car." Kim Peng sneered. He continued, "I spent a lot of money to stop the taxi driver from using the road. I didn't provoke you, right?" Zhu Ruoying took out her mobile phone and looked at the time. The time to sign the contract was getting closer. "What are you doing standing here? Throw them away." Kim Peng did not want to explain and gave orders to a few strong men. The person sitting in the passenger seat got out of the car first and opened the back door. The remaining 2 strong men grabbed the arms of Fen Lin and Zhu Ruoying. Respectively, "I'll go out alone." Fen Lin got up first and got out of the car. This guy was quite sensible. The 3 people he was looking for were not ordinary people. He also got up and prepared to get out of the car. But as soon as Fen Lin jumped out of the car, he grabbed the 2 strong men in the car and threw them with all his strength. Brat, before these 3 men strong enough to react, Fen Lin kicked each of them along the way. After that, Fen Lin sat in the passenger seat, smiled and put his arm around Kim Peng's shoulders. "Brother, where are you going? Go down alone or should I invite you down? Bad boy, do you know? Who am I? It looks like you're going to fall. I'm going to treat you." Fen Lin slapped him, pulled Kim Peng out of the car like he was a chicken, and threw him under the road. End of this chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is completely available on Patreon. I invite you to subscribe and enjoy all the content.